Good evening and welcome. We are third grade pirate chorus from Imperial Estates Elementary in Titusville, and we are delighted that you're here. We're delighted we're here. I would suggest that if you're in the audience this evening that you take careful hold of all your valuables, because we have someone from our brigade here who's tasked to come out and take donations, and they may or may not ever come back to you, so please be very careful. Her name is Sharkbait, and you will get to meet her in just a little bit. We have a show this evening for you called Career Day at the Pirate Academy, and it's a show that was specially written just for these people and just for this school, and it's based on kind of a visitor's day / graduation at the Pirate Academy. So we have some of the cast members who are already pirates, and some of them are trainees. We hope you like the show. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you very much for being here.
Ahoy, mateys, and welcome to Career Day at the Pirate Academy. Now, before we begin, first mate Sharkbait will pass among you, and we'd be right grateful if you put out your money and jewelry in the bucket you be carrying. Arr! Quit that noise, Saxon! Sorry, sir. I brought some trainees to help me tell about our academy. When they're not swabbing the decks or mending the sails, they be practicing their singing. That be right, mateys? All right then, get to it. Beautiful, brings a tear to my good eye. Saxon! Get back to work, scrub the anchor. Aye, sir. Minnow, you're late. Where have you been? I've been helping Sir Big count plunder, sir. Looks like you have a bit more work on your counting. I don't mind having you walk the plank. What do you say, trainees? Arr! Wait, I'm too young to talk. How about if we parlay for my life? Parlay? What do you have to offer? I teach the trainees a new song. If you like it, it gets to go. All right then, get to it. but I like the song You May Stay. Thank you, Captain. Captain, I found something strange among all this splendor. It looks like a song, and I'd be thinking that it must belong to one of these trainees. Someone's trying to smuggle out secret information. So which one of you burgled root this? In that case, you all be punished. Sing it all you walk the plank.
She sails to work each morning. She doesn't own a car. Her very favorite letter of the alphabet is R. She calls the teachers mateys. She whistles pirate tunes. By day she counts her students, and by night she counts the blues. Our principal's a pirate, a very one is blue. Her students mean much more to her than all her piles of loot. Our principal's a pirate, a friendly one at that. She wears a jolly smile with her jolly pirate hat. She digs for buried treasure. She's friends with Captain Hook. She also likes to help each student dig into a book. She doesn't lose her temper. She doesn't yell or spank. But if you don't obey the rules, she'll make you walk the plank. Our principal's a pirate, a friendly one is blue. Her students mean much more to her than all the piles of loot. Our principal's a pirate, a friendly one at that. She wears a jolly smile with her jolly pirate hat. Yo ho ho, ye hearties! Yo ho 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 ho!
A vast land of lovers.
Shimmy timbers! Our principal's a pirate, a friendly one to do. Her students mean much more to her than all her piles of loot. Our principal's a pirate, a friendly one at that. She wears a jolly smile with her jolly pirate hat. Yo ho 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 ho!
So, Captain, how did we do? So, Captain, how did we do? Well, you sang so beautifully about Captain Archer. You don't have to swim with the sharks. Yeah!
Captain, this career day has been kind of fun, especially since we don't have to walk the plank. But the crew's ready to get back on the high seas.
Aye, that's right, Rafe. Even plundering those lovers in the giants, but it's much fun as chasing treasure ships.
Remember what you always say, Captain? A pirate without treasure is like a monkey without a spatula.
Aye, that's true. All right, trainees, are you ready to be the scourge of the high seas? All right, then sing the Academy theme song. We're off for treasure.
It's
Great to be a pirate and live a life of pleasure.
Every morning get to choose a stylish hook or leg. Oh, okay, thank you. So there was a pirate captain down in Jamaica out in the dock. And by the way, thank you to Halfline for reminding me. And he was looking for sailors because he needed to fill out his crew. And this old gentleman comes up. He's been around for a very, very long time. He's got a peg leg, a hook, and a patch over one eye. So the captain's thinking, holy cow, what can I possibly do with this person? But anyway, I'm here, I'll talk. So he says, I'm curious, how did you lose your leg? The old guy says, well, we were sailing around the Cape, and we had a big wave, and I fell overboard, and the sharks got my leg before they could pull me back on. So the captain says, okay, well, that makes sense. So how did you get this hook? I mean, how did you get the hook? Well, I was working in the galley one day, and I had a little too much grog, and I got distracted, and before you know it, I sliced off part of my hand. Okay. We've gone this far, I may as well ask. So how did you get the patch over your eye? And he says, well, I was walking along the beach one day, and a seagull flew over. Wait a minute. How does a seagull cause you? Start over? So how does oh heavens, how does a seagull cause you to lose your eye? And the old gentleman says, well, it was me first day with the hook. You wish you'd been plundered. All right, so it's great, it's great, it's great to be a pirate. It's great, it's great, it's swell to be a bum. It's great, it's great. It's great to be a pirate. It's great, it's great, it's thrilling to be scum. We have one pirate golden rule.
It's great to be a pirate.
Eat with your fingers and always drool.
It's great to be a pirate.
There's a second pirate golden rule.
It's great to be a pirate.
Be ruthless, scary, mean, and hairy.
And don't forget to drool. It's great, it's great, it's great, it's great, it's great, it's great. It's great, it's great, it's great, it's great. It's great to be a pirate!
Thank you very much. Before we continue, I would like to recognize our principal players. If you are able to do this, you're welcome to take a bow when I call your name. Don't get carried away. All right. Our captain was Monica Crampert. Minnow and her understudy are Rain Miller and Joseph Robinson. Sharkbait and her understudy are Brooke Best and Hannah Hilton. Rafe was Jacob Cabral. Half Pint was Cheyenne Green. The understudy is Kevin Mendoza. And our friend Saxon on the recorder was Katie Trimmer. All right. Here at the Pirate Academy, of course, geography is one of our more important subjects because it's important to know where you're going and how to get there to find the most treasure that you can. We would like to share a song with you that's about this country, but if you think back a few years, when Katie here was about 200 years younger, this country was the target of pirates as well. So this is called 50 Nifty United States.
Colonies, nifty, nifty stars in the flag that billows so beautifully in the breeze. Each individual state contributes a quality that is great. Each individual state deserves a
added a lot of people to the audience, so we're going to bring back one song that we've done earlier, and I'd like to recognize two of the folks who are here this evening. That is our principal, who is in fact a very, is it okay to say lovely looking pirate? I don't know. Maybe that's an oxymoron. At any rate, she is here this evening and we are grateful for that. And our assistant principal, Mrs. Tagey, is also here, and thank you for being here.
She sails to work each morning. She doesn't own a car. Her very favorite letter of the alphabet is R. She calls the teacher's babies. She whistles pirate tunes. By day she counts her students, and by night she counts the blues. Oh, her favorite syllable's a pirate, a very wonderful. Her students sing them towards the earth in all her clouds of blue. Oh, her favorite syllable's a pirate, a friendly one at that. She wears a jolly smile with her jolly pirate hat. She digs for buried treasure. She's friends with Captain Hook. She also likes to help each student dig into a book. She doesn't lose her temper. She doesn't yell or say. But if you don't obey the rules, she'll make you walk the plank. Our baby syllable's a pirate, a very one of blue. The students leave on the door of the earth and all her clouds of blue. Our baby syllable's a pirate, a friendly one at that. She wears her jolly smile with her jolly pirate hat.
Ahoy, ye hearties! Avast, landlubbers! Ship me timbers!
Our baby syllable's a pirate, a very one of blue. The students sing much more than all her lives of blue. Our baby syllable's a pirate, a friendly one at that. She draws a triumph with her jolly pirate hat.
Once again, we are the third grade Pirate Brigade from Imperial Estates Elementary School in Titusville. We are thrilled to death to be here this afternoon. We hope that you all have enjoyed us. We will be back in just a little bit once the meeting starts. Again, thanks very much for being here. We'll be back shortly.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's school board meeting will begin in approximately 5 minutes. Once Once again, tonight's school board meeting will begin in approximately 5 minutes. We ask that you please take this time.
Good evening. This is the special school board meeting of September 27, 2011. Jackie, roll call, please.
Ms. Henderson?
Here.
Ms. Nisi?
Here.
Dr. Krupp?
Here.
Dr. Murray?
Here.
Mr. Ziegler?
Here.
Thank you, Jackie. This evening we have 2 students from Imperial Elementary School to assist us in the opening exercises. Brett Horn, 3rd grade, will present the invocation, and Brooke Best, 3rd grade, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Brett?
As Imperial States Kids for Character, we try to keep our honor bright and learn that integrity of character is our most priceless possession. We will try to do our best today and strive to do even better tomorrow. We know that duty is a friend and not an enemy, and helps us face even the most disagreeable tasks cheerfully. We are thankful for all the blessings bestowed upon our country, and will try to do our duty to our country, and to know that a good nation must be made from good men. We understand the good character is so that it is more than mere words. We never tire of the joy of helping other people or look the other way when someone is in need, because we are Imperial States Kid for Character.
Thank you. And Brooke, would you step up there and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brooke, you want to stay up there so I can ask you a few questions? And Brett, you kind of hang there in the back and we'll catch you in a minute or two, all right? Brooke, why don't we start out by welcoming you here with all of your classmates. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in school? Well, you're obviously in reading, and you like reading and you like music, right? Okay, are there any outside activities that you like to do?
I like to ride my bike.
Oh, you like to ride bikes, good. How far do you usually ride when you go? Couple miles, a long way? Yes? Okay, good. It says here that you also like to fish, is that right? Do you catch big fish? Yeah, good for you. Do you have anyone here with you this evening?
My dad.
Your dad, and where is Dad? Would you like to have him stand so we may recognize him? Welcome. Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I have a sister.
And is she younger or older?
She's older.
Older, okay. So you're the kid in the house, huh? All right. Where does your sister go to school?
She goes to Imperial too.
Okay, so she's still in elementary school as well. And you have any pets?
2 fish.
Okay, you have 2 did you catch them or did you buy them at the store? Or?
I bought them at the store.
Oh, you bought them, okay. I wonder how they feel about all the fish you catch. Have you ever thought about that? Okay, well, thank you for being with us this evening, and we'll have Brett step up there, and we'll pick on him a little bit. Well, first I want to say I love the hair, right? Arg. Okay. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I enjoy reading, and I enjoy math, and I'm kind of a fan of reading counts, because
Okay.
it's kind of hard sometimes.
Okay, and it says here that you like creative writing, and that is a really good
Yes.
thing. Good for you. What are your outside activities that you enjoy?
I like to act at the Emma Parish Theater. I'm not too sure, but I think I'm doing YMCA football in the spring.
You'll probably have to lose the hair. It won't fit under your helmet, you think? Okay, and do you have any family members with you this evening?
Yes,
Would you have them stand?
my mom and dad.
Welcome. And if you could change anything about your school to make it better, what would you do?
I would probably change the school lunch a little.
And what would that be? How would that be?
I would probably add nachos.
Oh, okay. Okay. You like that cheese, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on behalf of the board, I want to thank both of you for being here and standing up in front of us tonight. That is a very scary thing. You will find out that we really don't bite, like a lot of people say. We always enjoy having students come and visit the board meetings and perform for us. So thank you again. And now I would like to introduce Imperial Estates Elementary third grade chorus under the direction of chorus director Bruce Pentecoff, who has been entertaining us prior to the start of the board meeting. They will perform one additional number for us.
Dr. Bingley, Dr. Murray, and the members of the board, we would be remiss if we did not perform for you our Principles of Pirate.
She sails to work each morning. She doesn't own a car. Her very favorite letter of the alphabet is R. She calls the teachers matey. She whistles pirate tunes. By day she counts her students, and by night she counts the blues. Our principles of pirates on every waterproof. Her students mean much more to her than all the mouths of loot. Our principles of pirates, a friendly one at that. She wears a jolly smile with her jolly pirate hat. She digs for buried treasure. She's friends with Captain Hook. She also likes to help each student dig into a book. She doesn't lose her temper. She doesn't yell or spank. But if you don't obey the rules, she'll make you walk them away. Our principles of pirate, a friendly one to boot. Her students mean much more to her than all her piles of loot. Our principles of pirate, a friendly one
I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Pentecoff, course director, and his students for entertaining us tonight. And we certainly wish you well, and all of you and each of you a very successful, good school year at Imperial States. And thank you again for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Murray.
At this time, I'm going to call a short recess for the students to gather their belongings and exit the area down front. Welcome back. That brings us to the adoption of the agenda. Dr. Bingley.
Thank you, Dr. Murray, and members of the board. On the published agenda, we have 5 recognition items, 2 proclamations, 2 presentations, 13 consent items not previously submitted for information, 14 consent items previously submitted for information, and 1 action item, and 2 information items. You also have the yellow supplemental agenda, which are changes made to the agenda since being released to the public. Under the consent agenda, you have 3 revised items. Item F27 on support staff recommendations, item F28 on instructional staff recommendations, and item F32, application to FLDOE for access to the Common Core for Exceptional Student Success or Access Project.
Thank you, Dr. Bingley. What are the wishes of the board?
To approve.
Second. Okay, it was moved by Mrs. Nisi and seconded by Mrs. Henderson to adopt the agenda as presented by the superintendent. Any discussion? Then let's vote. The motion carries 5-0. Okay, our next item is recognition of visitors and awards. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize Mr. Nick Patelis, who contacted me to bring his Boy Scout troop this evening. Are you out there? Okay, well, then we will move on and welcome the following professors and their future educators. Susan Lamb Merritt, Associate Professor of Education, Melbourne. If you and your students would stand so they can be recognized. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Marika Koch, or Coach, Koch, Assistant Professor of Education, Cocoa Campus. I apologize for the name. Have your students stand as well. Welcome. And Holly McKnight, Assistant Professor of Education at Palm Bay. If you would stand with your students. And Janet Stevenson, Adjunct Professor, Education, Melbourne, and also BPS employee. There you are. Okay, good. Thank you. Dr. Bingley?
Thank you, Dr. Murray. There are 5 recognition items on this evening's agenda. Item B7 is to welcome the Embark team as the spotlight on education this evening. Dr. Lynn Spadaccini, Director of Elementary Programs, Ms. Teresa Phelps, Writing Resource Teacher, and Ms. Blair Nave, Social Studies Resource Teacher, will provide us with an overview of this project.
Good evening, Dr. Bingley, Chairman Murray, board members, staff, and community. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. We are pleased to have the opportunity to share Embark with you during tonight's spotlight. I'm going to start by introducing the Embark team. With the following team members, please come forward. Patty Henning, Megan Duffy. I'm going to mention Amber Thibodeau. She is not here this evening. She's ill. She couldn't be with us this evening. Wendy Sheldon, Janet Tucker, Jerry McCoy, and then behind me you also will remember Blair Nave and Teresa Phelps. They have done a fantastic job, and I'm really excited for you to hear about Embark this evening. And I'm going to turn it over to Teresa Phelps to give you an overview.
So what is Embark? It's an opportunity to learn about and to visit Brevard's own backyard, Port Canaveral, the world's only quadrimodal port. Port Canaveral is a place where authentic life situations meet Florida standards, and that equates to an enthusiasm for learning. Third grade was chosen because of science and social studies standards, and they were just a perfect match for all that Port Canaveral offers. First, the students participate in classroom lessons, learning about all aspects of the port. Then, the teacher schedules the field trip. Over 2,500 students have participated in Embark. With the program growing every year, eventually all third grade students will experience the wonder of Port Canaveral. There are 24 web-based lessons on the Embark site designed by the people that were standing here earlier, our Embark team, and 5 different field trip destinations with hands-on activities. Classroom activities include lessons on imports and exports, geography and culture, local government, the lock system, and native animals, habitats, and plants. Each lesson unit is an integration of science, social studies, art, and writing. The Embark site also includes virtual tours of the port, a career section with taped interviews, and links to related sites. The field experience begins with a stop at Wild Ocean Market, where students watch shrimp boats unload and weigh their catch. A map of the Caribbean is painted across the parking lot just east of the Maritime Center. Students can island hop and estimate distance using their feet as a tool of measurement. When available, the mobile command unit is parked right alongside the map and offers students an opportunity to work as a team to solve problems simulating the different law agencies at the port. The Canaveral Lock is a popular stop where students can see firsthand the system that separates the Atlantic Ocean from the Banana River. The last stop of the day is Jetty Park. Students search the sand and surf, identifying animals and plants. At the end of their adventure, the students enjoy lunch in a beachside pavilion. So, what is Embark? It's a valued partnership between Brevard Public Schools and Canaveral Port Authority. Now we'd like to go ahead and show you a video of our September 12th Professional Development Day. This video is going to show you the day that teachers spent learning all about Embark. And thank you again to Port Authority for providing that opportunity. And we're not hearing sound. There we go.
Now, it's my proud pleasure to introduce someone who is a true visionary for kids. If you ever want to meet someone who wants to talk about possibilities, is the person I'm going to introduce next. Miss Rosalind Harvey, Senior Director of Communications and Community Affairs, is the person who put this all together. What once started as a question, can we do a writing activity with Brevard Public Schools? And we said, that sounds great, but what about? She took on that ownership and said, yes, we can. And she actually helped fund the teachers coming out to the port for 4 weeks during the summer to explore the port, learn all of its possibilities, and put together a curriculum that is dynamic and engaging for our third grade students. The next year, we had a think tank, and we said, well, you know what? I said, I'm the social studies resource teacher, and I said, I think it needs more geography. Guess what? She found us a parking lot, she found us paint, and again, thanks to this team out here, we spent many Saturdays painting the map that kids get to be engaged on and walk and measure out the steps of the ships and explore the Caribbean. Then, this year, another think tank, another possibility. She asked, what's holding kids back? You know, we've got a lot of local schools coming to Embark, but we're not hitting all the kids of Brevard County. And I said, transportation. You know, we're in tight budgets right now. Trying to get kids from the south area up is very difficult. And again, she said, I'll take care of it. And tonight we want to recognize Ms. Harvey and her team in their financial contribution to the Embark program.
Thank you so much and good evening. The Port Authority is so very proud to be in partnership with the school district to offer our children an exciting real-world classroom right in our own backyard. The team that worked on this project with us has been absolutely dynamic. We are so blessed to have worked with them. Thank you to Teresa Phelps for taking my phone call 3 years ago and grasping the concept and so quickly and enthusiastically saying yes, and what about this, and what about this, and what about this? A big thank you to the team of contractors here too, who are working right now on the port's newest cruise terminal. We told them about the need for transportation funds for Embark, and they responded. Together, they established a fund of $6,000 to start to help schools with transportation to the port so our children can enjoy a field experience. So with Chad Lasson of Skanska, Rocky Johnson and Kevin Ivey of Ivey's Construction, Brian Curtin of BRPH, and John Picard of Stotler Stag, please come forward for the presentation.
Can we have the Embark team come up, please?
And lastly, we just have a little something for the board and superintendent because we thank you for all you do for our community. Thank you.
On behalf of the board, I want to thank everyone for their support towards the schools. I became familiar with the Embark program just a month or so ago, and I was very impressed. With the port sitting in our backyard, I think Brevard County patrons don't realize the opportunities that we have and what we have available to us. So it is greatly appreciated that representatives from business and industry step up to the plate to fund and help us fund opportunities for every student in Brevard County. And I look forward for towards the expansion in our curriculum, of course, because I think there are so many opportunities down there at Port Canaveral. So thank you very, very much. Dr. Bingley?
Thank you, Dr. Murray. And before I move on, I too want to say thank you to our, first of all, our great friends at the port. We can't express appreciation enough for the cooperation and collaboration and the opportunity for children. And to our great team who worked through that so that young people have those kind of opportunities. We can't express thank you enough. So we really do appreciate that. Item B8 is to recognize Vieira High School senior George Velakis for displaying leadership in a time of crisis. Will Vieira High Principal, Mr. Jim Hickey, and our Director of Transportation Services, Mr. Mike Connors, please come to the podium at this time.
Dr. Bingley and board members of our public schools, the administrative team, and the students at Vieira High School would like to take this time to thank Senior George Velakis for his courageous support in assisting the driver and students when on the first day of school, the school bus in which George and other students were riding had an accident. When school officials began looking at the videotape of the accident, it was obvious from the beginning that George rushed to the aid of the driver in order to assist him. In the pursuing chaos, once the rest of the students realized that the bus was going to crash into the lake, you could ascertain that George was not going to let the students panic and make critical mistakes when exiting the bus. He calmly tells the other students to exit the rear door, and he makes sure to check on the driver's safety before he leaves the bus. It was clear to those of us watching the video that because this was the first day of school, students were unfamiliar with each other, and panic could easily have overcome most of them. However, due to George's witness and confidence, he was able to lead his fellow students to safety. Everyone at Vieira High School wants to thank George Velakis for his courageous and unselfish behavior in order to help the driver and assist the students at Vieira High School. George, job well done. Please come forward.
And now, item B9 is the recognition for Brevard Public Schools named as a 2011 AARP Best Employer for Workers Over 50. I'd like to ask Dr. Barbara Murray, Ms. Deborah Pace, Associate Superintendent of Human Resources, and Ms. Susan Stanley, Director of Compensation and Benefits, to join me near the podium. And Ms. Davis, I believe you.
I will read. For the sixth straight year, and that's six, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight year, Brevard Public Schools has been named by AARP one of the best employers for workers over 50, and it is the only public school district in the nation to be so recognized. The national award was established by AARP to honor employers showing a commitment to a mature workforce. AARP invites employers to apply for the Best Employer honor by submitting an application outlining their exemplary policies and practices for workers over 50 and older. Candidates undergo extensive vetting prior to the final selections. Key areas include recruiting practices, opportunities for training, education and career development, workplace accommodations, alternative work options such as flexible scheduling, job sharing, and phased retirement, employee health and pension benefits, retiree benefits, and age diversity of the workforce. A notable 46% of Brevard Public Schools employees are 50 or older. Special thanks go to our school board, Ms. Susan Stanley, Director of Compensation and Benefits, and Ms. Kathy Estrada, Administrative Secretary and Compensation and Benefits, for all of their diligent efforts to complete our successful application process and make Brevard Public Schools a quality employer for employees of all ages, particularly those 50 and older.
I saw our younger citizens in the front here when Ms. Davis read that that percentage was over 50. And I know you guys said, wow. I wonder if they had cars even when they were my age. Is that kind of what you're thinking, something like that? Item B10 is the 2011 Principal Achievement Award for Outstanding Leadership and Outstanding Assistant Principal Achievement Award. So again, Ms. Davis?
The Principal Achievement Award for Outstanding Leadership and the Outstanding Assistant Principal Achievement Award were established in 1988 to recognize exemplary principals and assistant principals for their contributions to their schools and communities. The program honors principals and assistant principals that have spearheaded initiatives to increase student performance, promote safe learning environments, and establish partnerships with parent and community members. At this time, I would like to ask Hyla Mercer, James Hickey, Melissa Katakis, and Elizabeth Westfall to join me. Actually, to join the superintendent and Dr. Murray. You can. Okay, we're going to start with Ms. Hyla Mercer, is the principal of Cambridge Elementary Magnet School. And Mr. Hickey is the principal of Vieira High School and former principal of Jackson Middle School. We are pleased to recognize both of them as Brevard's recipients for the 2011 Principal Achievement Award for Outstanding Leadership. Ms. Mercer has been chosen to represent the district at the state level and will also represent Brevard Public Schools as the University of Florida's Distinguished Educator. And we do have another award, so Ms. Mercer, we would like you to come back over. Okay, Ms. Mercer will be recognized by the University of Florida in December of 2011. Okay, now our assistant principals. Receiving Brevard's 2011 Outstanding Assistant Principal Achievement Award are Ms. Katakis, Assistant Principal of Astronaut High School, and Ms. Westfall, Assistant Principal of Westside Elementary School. Ms. Katakis will represent the district at the state level. We'd like to get a photo of all of you, but please stay up here for one moment. Okay, will you please stay here one moment? Ms. Marjorie Ebersbach, Executive Director of Brevard Association of School Administrators, will give a brief presentation for these outstanding administrators tonight. Ms. Ebersbach?
Good evening. On behalf of the Brevard Association of School Administrators, I want to add my congratulations to this outstanding recognition. Proud of all of you. Know what a wonderful job that you do every day on behalf of the students and the staff at your schools. And we'd like to add a little bit of monetary recognition by giving you a check for $100 each.
And item B11 is the annual recognition of District PRISM Scholars. And I think, Ms. Rodriguez, will you be starting us off?
Good evening, Dr. Bingley and board members and guests. As you know, the PRISM Scholars Program is entering its 5th year. We are once again fortunate to be able to recognize some outstanding Brevard students for their accomplishments in mathematics and science. With us this evening is Kim Bragg, our middle school science and math resource teacher and the coordinator of the PRISM Scholars Program. Mrs. Bragg and her team have done a fantastic job of identifying students who meet the criteria for the Scholars Program. At this time, I will turn over the program to her so that she can describe the program, introduce our guests from the Central Florida School Boards Coalition PRISM Project, and introduce our honored students. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Bingley and school board members. It is my pleasure to be here this evening to honor an outstanding group of students who are representing Brevard Public Schools as 2011 PRISM Scholars. As you know, PRISM stands for Promoting Regional Improvement in Science and Mathematics and is a cooperative effort between Brevard Public Schools and the Central Florida School Boards Coalition. PRISM is financed through the efforts of area businesses and the private sector. This partnership has provided us with the opportunity to select students who have demonstrated exemplary achievements in or significant improvement in science or math. Although these students are in 8th grade now, they were selected as award recipients at the end of last school year, and their selection was based on criteria that include participation in science, math, or technology clubs and competitions, teacher recommendations, and grade point averages in math and science, as well as their overall GPA. These students will be receiving a $250 savings bond voucher this evening. We also have 3 other groups of exemplary students who are being honored this evening. They are our continuing 2008, 2009, and 2010 PRISM Scholars. They have continued to meet the criteria mentioned earlier, and I am thrilled to once again honor these students as continuing PRISM Scholars. With us today from the Central Florida School Boards Coalition PRISM Project Board of Directors is Dr. James Schott. You may know Dr. Schott as the former superintendent of Orange County Public Schools. Dr. Schott is now president of PRISM Project and an assistant professor of educational leadership. We are honored to have him here with us this evening. Dr. Schott.
I'll spare you the 2.5-hour speech. We did have the privilege just last Thursday to recognize outstanding teachers from 10 different counties, and now we're going around and recognizing outstanding students in science and math. And I'm just happy to be here, and I'm pleased to see that you're taking care of the older people. And when you mentioned 50, if you think that's old, try 72 or better. But at any rate, I'm retiring June 28th, 2039. I turn 100. But right now, I'm here to recognize some outstanding students, and Kim's here to make the announcements. I do have, we're going to present $250 U.S. savings bonds. There's a process you have to go through, however, for the new members this year. You'll receive this packet with information in it. For the returning members, this form, and it's a very important form because you have to complete it, send it to the address here in order for us to process your gift. And so I'm happy now to give it back to Kim.
Students, as I call your name, please come forward to receive your award. Please remain standing in front of the boardroom until all the names are called and all the students have received their award so we can take a group picture. Once the group picture for all current and previous student winners has been taken, I will ask the 2011 winners to remain standing for a final group picture of our newest scholars. I would also like to invite Dr. Bingley and Dr. Murray to be part of this. I know you beat me. Okay, our 2011 PRISM scholars. Alex Adams, math scholar from Kennedy Middle School. Nathan Dabu, science scholar, Edgewood Junior Senior High School. Elizabeth Feldman, science scholar, Southwest Middle School. David Freeman, science scholar, Stone Middle School. Ailani Mayo, math scholar, Central Middle School. Davis Rollman, math scholar, Delora Middle School. Shermai Tanali, math scholar, West Shore Junior Senior High School. Cody Tickle, science scholar, Stone Middle School. Our 2010 continuing PRISM scholars are currently ninth graders. Because of various extracurricular activities, some of them are not attending tonight. The first is Esha Bansell, not attending tonight, outstanding math scholar. Priscilla Gonzalez, most improved math scholar. Nick Peters, outstanding math. Anissa Khan, most improved math. Natalie Barton, outstanding science. Molly O'Brien, most improved science. Maggie Marshall, outstanding science, is not able to be here this evening. Colleen Kane, most improved science. On to our 2009 continuing PRISM scholars who are in the 10th grade currently. Khalil Menendez, outstanding math. Ian Chan, outstanding math scholar. Matthew Johnson, most improved math scholar. Alex McPhee, most improved math. He didn't check in, but I wasn't sure whether he was here. Albert Halbing is not attending. He's an outstanding science scholar. Judy Reese, outstanding science scholar. The final 2009 continuing PRISM scholar is Rebecca Campbell, and she's not attending this evening. Our 2008 continuing PRISM scholars, they are 11th graders this year, and they must be the swim teams from everywhere because they are all not here because of swimming, except for our one great representative, Rashad Abdullah, outstanding mathematics scholar 2008. If we could take a group picture. And then just the 2011 scholars, please. The continuing scholars return to your seats, and just the 2011 scholars. The new group, the 8th graders this year. That's them. I want to once again congratulate all student award winners on this special achievement, and thank you to the parents and guardians for their encouragement, support. Thank the members of the board, Dr. Schott, the superintendent, teachers, parents, and principals for their leadership in this regional effort to improve science and math education. I would also like to recognize the name of the donors who made this award possible. Major contributors to the PRISM Scholars Program include Lockheed Martin Corporation, Florida High-Tech Corridor Council, Electronic Arts, Orlando Science Center, DeVry University, Regions Bank, Florida Virtual Schools, and University of Central Florida. Thank you.
Congratulations, everyone.
Well, and Dr. Schott, before you leave, I do want to again say thank you. You mentioned it, but Ms. Van Meter and myself and several principals and teachers who are in the room had opportunity the other night at the Orlando Science Center, and the PRISM organization recognized 2 of our great math and 2 of our great science teachers. We're very proud of them, and we thank you for your organization's ability to recognize their efforts. So, thank you.
Okay, that brings us to resolutions and proclamations. Dr. Bingley.
There are 2 proclamations on this evening's agenda. Item C12 is a resolution to proclaim October 10th through the 14th, 2011 as National School Lunch Week. Christine Davis, Director of District Communications, will read the resolutions.
Thank you, and we'll put a bid in for tacos as well for this. Whereas, for over 60 years, the National School Lunch Program has contributed to the health and educational development of Florida's students. And whereas the National School Lunch Program promotes the consumption of high-quality, nutritious agricultural products from Florida. And whereas recent studies indicate that students who eat lunch have improved mathematics grades and reading scores, increased attention, reduced absence and tardy rates, and improved psychosocial behaviors. And whereas a school lunch is often the only meal available to many children, and therefore represents a vital part of the initiative to improve the education skills of young children and prepare them for life. And whereas the Florida Department of Education, Food and Nutrition Management collaborates with other organizations dedicated to the educational success of America's children by creating public awareness of the impact of hunger on a child's ability to learn. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Brevard County, Florida, hereby proclaims the week of October 10th through 14th, 2011 as National School Lunch Week, and encourages all residents to participate in planned activities to celebrate the week and to recognize the significant impact of the National School Lunch Program on the total educational experience of students.
What are the wishes of the board?
Accept.
Second. Okay, it was moved by Dr. Krupp and seconded by Mrs. Henderson to accept the recommendation to resolve that the October 10th through 14th, 2011 is National School Lunch Week. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, let's vote. The motion carries 5-0. Bingley?
Thank you, Dr. Murray. Item C13 is a resolution to proclaim October 3rd through the 14th, 2011 as Disability History and Awareness Instruction Weeks. Ms. Davis will read the resolution.
Whereas the School Board of Brevard County is based upon the principle that all individuals shall have the opportunity to gain the knowledge and skills necessary to achieve their full potential and contribute to the general welfare of the community. And whereas educational programs for exceptional students, including students with disabilities and students who are gifted, incorporate this fundamental principle. And whereas students with disabilities receive a variety of specialized services and instruction that enable them to participate in and benefit from educational activities. And whereas access to assistive technology and communication devices such as Braille, large print materials, sign language, and other accommodations to the general curriculum allows students with disabilities to participate in classroom activities, benefit from instruction, and demonstrate their capabilities. And whereas students with disabilities are provided with transition services to prepare them to obtain their desired post-school outcomes, including post-secondary education, employment, and adult living. And whereas students who are gifted are provided an advanced academic opportunity through acceleration and enrichment activities that help them expand their horizons and reach their potential. And whereas the School Board of Brevard County has demonstrated its commitment to school improvement and accountability for all students, which will increase positive outcomes for Brevard's approximately 13,000 exceptional students ages birth to 21. And whereas nearly 1,000 Brevard County teachers, paraprofessionals, therapists, and other educators work daily to assist these students and their parents to achieve their goals and progress on the path to excellence. And whereas their contributions are worthy of recognition and appreciation. Now, therefore, the School Board of Brevard County, Florida, does hereby declare the 2 weeks in October as Disability History and Awareness Instruction Weeks, adopted this 27th day of September, 2011.
Thank you. What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second. It was moved by Mrs. Nisi and seconded by Mrs. Henderson to proclaim October 3rd through the 14th, 2011, Disability History and Awareness Instruction Week. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, let's vote. The motion carries 5-0. That brings us to the presentation portion of tonight's agenda. Dr. Bingley?
Thank you, Dr. Murray. There are 2 presentations on this evening's agenda. Item D14 is a presentation on Brevard Public Schools' proposed preferred health centers. Susan Stanley, Director of Compensation and Benefits, and her team will be presenting. Ms. Stanley?
Good evening, Dr. Murray, board members, Dr. Bingley. About 3 months ago in late May, I presented to you information that we have been gathering and researching on health clinics for employees. And we were very clear when that presentation was over that we were to go off as part of the insurance committee, the superintendent's insurance committee, and look into the possibility of what we were calling at that time community clinics. We took your instructions seriously, and tonight we want to give you a brief presentation on where that project stands. First of all, though, I want to introduce the folks behind me because they are critical to what I'll be presenting to you, and they will indeed each have a small part here tonight. First of all, directly behind me is Brian McNeil, and he is the Senior Account Representative for Brevard Public Schools from Cigna, and is working very hard to make this a reality. And then we have Kevin Chancellor, and Kevin is a teacher at Lockmar, a music teacher, And of course, we have Jan Bush from Robinson Bush. So without further ado, we'll go on through and let you know where we stand on this project. After the last presentation, we went back to the committee and said, what is our goal going to be based on what we want to accomplish? And what we set out to do was develop a sound network of existing community healthcare providers who would be willing, with certain standards in mind, to partner with Brevard Public Schools and deliver to the members, all of the members of our health plan, geographically dispersed alternative treatment settings that had services provided during extended hours, meaning evenings and weekends, that would provide a methodology for containing cost, but most important, would provide high quality care. And what this really means, and how we as a committee came up with the idea of preferred health centers, is we wanted to take businesses and healthcare providers around the county and provide our members, employees, dependents, and retirees at a reduced cost to both them and the trust fund other types of healthcare services or other venues for accessing healthcare services. But the locations had to be convenient, and the hours had to be workable in terms of many of our employees not being able to leave work sites during the day. We also wanted to see if we could lower health costs for members and for our self-funded trust. And we learned during this process, within the last 2 or 3 years, that there is a growing infrastructure within our county of facilities who we believed could meet our criteria. As a result of that, we want to present to you where we are with the preferred health centers. Next to speak for a few moments is Kevin Chancellor.
Okay, so we sat down and it said approached 11 providers to ascertain interest. Basically, the Insurance Advisory Committee came up with a survey that we sent to employees at the end of last school year, got their feedback on what their priorities were when it came to health care. And we took that data and then came up with a list of things that we would need, and we came up with 11 providers that fit that criteria. And when we were in the meetings, we said, one of the main benefits we're going to give you is focused marketing, free focused marketing to over 13,000 members of the Brevard Public Schools health plan. Now, right now, we have 2 options in our health plan. We have yes and no. So we really don't have to fill everybody's mind with, this plan versus this plan versus this plan. You either take it or you leave it, which is going to open up a lot of room for us to market these preferred health centers to our employees. And so they were very excited to see that they would receive that kind of marketing from us. When it says there's potential for enhanced revenue, basically it's volume versus discounts. We're going to get a discount from them. We're going to in turn give them an increased volume in their facilities to make up for the cost and make it a win-win situation for both of us. That was one of the criteria that we had to fit. It had to not only be good for Brevard Public Schools, but it had to be good for our community partner as well. They have the ability to assist BPS and health plan in lowering costs, and there's a lot of different ways they can do that. When I found out going through this process that about 90% of all cases that go into the ER can be handled through an urgent care facility at a much lower cost to the trust fund. And I'm a avid urgent care user because everybody that has kids they don't get sick from 8 to 5 in the day. They get sick on weekends and things like that. So one thing is we're going to divert people away from the ER, and that's going to save money in that sense. Secondly, a teacher or a bus driver, anyone that has a responsibility to kids, know it's a lot easier to finish out the day than to try to create sub-plans, try to find people to, do a sub to run a bus route. If we can make it through the end of the day, knowing that we have a place of high-quality care to go to, then that's going to save you money implicitly through your sub-budget, okay, from different schools, things that we might not have looked at. We can make it through the day. We know we can go to this urgent care at a low cost to us as well as to the district, then we'll be more willing to do that. And then the last thing, to become a community partner, that was very important to us. because we want this to be something that starts out with, just the urgent care services, but could blossom into other areas. And they were all very willing to help us out, such as, flu shots, health screenings. And I want to go back to one of the ways that they can help us lower costs that seemed to be a big issue when we were going is referral patterns, making sure that we don't get referred to the highest cost, that, they refer us to the low cost, labs that we are contracted with, that they prescribe generic medications when at all possible. There's a lot of things that they are doing that would help us lower costs. So those were some of the issues that we talked about to why become a BPS preferred health center. Mainly it was the marketing, and this is going to be a long-term community partnership. And that's all I have. So.
So as we were vetting this with the insurance committee, we thought, what would we want of our community partners as we were trying to develop what we'd be asking them to do for Brevard Public Schools to be a member of this BPS Preferred Health Center network. So we talked about a lot of different options. Of course, we used the survey information that Kevin was referring to. And one of the things we were asking as we went around on our, we called it our recruitment tour, talking about this exciting opportunity, was that we wanted some signage that would welcome BPS health plan members, something tasteful, not something that's, a neon sign, but something that we will develop, that we will provide to all of our contracted community providers to have in their lobby area that would welcome a BPS health plan member. And it is important that we have those extended hours of operation. Most of the facilities that we've targeted are open 6 and 7 days a week, all of them at least 6 days a week. And many have appointment times, or not appointment, but open hours into the evening, 7, 8 o'clock at night. So we thought that was also very important. The fee schedule, it needs to be advantageous, so we're talking about fees, and that is a process that is being undertaken right now as we're trying to negotiate what that arrangement will be with each of the individual providers. We're looking for a stable staff. We think for this to get a good acceptance from our health plan members that they need to see in many cases the same people when they go. And we think that that's an important element, and we found that to be the case in every one of the providers that we did a site visit to. We're looking for urgent care and convenience care, so we're not looking for appointment times. Some of them do schedule appointment times, but a lot of them are walk-in facilities, so that when it's convenient for you, when you need to have those services, that you have that ability to walk in. We certainly want our members to have preferential treatment when that's the case. Lab and basic imaging services, so if you have to have a lab draw, they have that ability to do that. Basic x-rays, if you need to have a chest x-ray, they have the ability to do that. Another area we think is important is the prescribing habits. The doctors prescribe the medications that we take, and we want to make sure that our community partners are mindful of the fact that generics save money. In most cases, they're just as effective as the brand name drugs, and we want our partners to be mindful of that. And then the reasonable referral patterns, as Kevin was mentioning, we want to make sure that our partners are truly partners and are guarding our trust fund dollars as well. And this was something that was very important in the survey results, is the primary care physician relationship. The overwhelming response was, we don't want you to interfere with our relationship with our primary care physicians. But we are very open to an alternative setting of care, and we would like for the district to provide that for us. So one of the criteria that we put in place is that you would coordinate, if you visit the urgent care or the BPS Preferred Health Center, that the primary care physician that you use will be notified and provided records of what your visit was, what the follow-up advice was, et cetera. So those were the immediate scope of services that we developed for immediate, what we need to get this off the ground. We're looking at January 1. So this was our first task. And then we looked at what can we do over time on a more long-term approach. And again, this is where we're looking at some of the strategies Kevin was alluding to with flu shots and disease management and other kinds of things. But we will be developing patient satisfaction surveys and monitoring the acceptance of the network by the health plan participants. We also wanted to develop, and we got a lot of good feedback from the providers on this issue, a provider panel that would work with us, alongside us, that we would talk about
what services we are delivering as a health plan. What are you hearing on the provider side that we can do to improve the BPS Preferred Health Center network and the services that the network is developing and delivering? So we got some really good, exciting feedback on that particular area. Coaching, health management, on-site preventive screenings, and so forth were all discussed as a more long-term strategic approach to being able to provide optimal health for the membership. And then Cigna this year, as of January, this year, has provided an on-site health coach. So as we go down the road with this network, we'll want that coordination with the health coach for someone who maybe has some high-risk opportunities to work with a clinical professional on those issues.
Yes, thank you. Okay, and I've already introduced all of us, and I just want to make one or two more comments, and then we're going to have the big reveal, which is who are we talking about and what are some of the specific details of what we're proposing. This is on the agenda later this evening, requesting your consent. And basically what I wanted to say here is that the four of us, over the space of just a few days, went on the road and met with all these providers. And Jan and Brian and I have all three worked in benefits for a long time, and it is frankly part of our jobs. But I have to give some special recognition to Kevin, because Kevin did this from the heart. Kevin used his summertime off to work with us on this and went to all the meetings and actually brought so much of a spark of excitement that I don't think we would have had otherwise. So I wanted to give Kevin a little extra recognition. Thank you, Kevin. Okay, and now Brian's going to come up and he wants to show you the facilities that we are targeting and we are currently working with to negotiate a partnership.
Thank you, Susan. Good evening. Yeah, so with that, as Susan said, these are the strategically located facilities that we approached that agreed to be part of the Preferred Health Centers partnership, if you will, community partnership. And we're working with them right now to get them under contract, and obviously in place before the January 1 effective date. But everything's moving forward as expected, so we're real excited about this.
Oh, and let me just back up for a second if I can. As you can see, the red dots give you an idea of the spread of all of the locations. And we also have been told that a couple of these facilities, a couple of new facilities should be added before January 1st. Another one in Titusville, which is good news. And probably another one in Palm Bay. So I think we're going to be well covered. You can see there are a couple of locations on the beach side too. So we feel like wherever people are, there's going to be a center either near where they work or live or shop or something. Right. Now, what we want to give you tonight is an overview of the key financial elements for the first year. Again, the contracts are currently in the process of negotiation with each of these providers, and the Cigna team is working on that for us. But all of these providers have agreed to some form of reduced reimbursement in order to be a participant in the network. So as they say, the devil is in the details, and we're at that place right now where we're working all of that out. We've made some savings projections, and we've been very conservative. We think we'll do better than this. But just so you know how we are projecting the financials for the first year, we're assuming a very conservative 5% reduction in emergency room visits. We think it'll be more than that. 5% represents 9 visits a month. We think we'll divert more than 9, but we wanted to be conservative, and we also assumed that the providers' reimbursements will be possibly lower than we think some of them are going to be. We have minimal startup costs. We have some marketing materials and collateral things and the signage that we referred to earlier. And most providers can admit directly to hospitals. They do not have to go an extra step by saying, okay, you need to go to the ER. These are, by and large, board-certified emergency room doctors, and they are working with a team of hospitalists to bypass that step, which will save us more money. So we're recommending tonight a member copay of $15. The current copay to access these specific facilities is $40. So we believe that represents a substantial decrease to our membership in utilizing these facilities for convenience and urgent care. With all of these parameters, our conservative first-year savings is just over $71,000. Again, we will be surprised if it isn't a lot more than that. So to close, we are currently preparing intense marketing to our members during open enrollment, and that will be in the form of a good portion of the open enrollment video, which is in production this week, where we will be explaining the centers. And then once all the network arrangements and everything is finalized, and of course after you all give us consent, we hope tonight, we're going to prepare a very simple trifold brochure that will go to all schools, and every employee will get a copy of that brochure, and our retirees will get one in the mail. So they know exactly who these places are and how it works. And our goal is to open for business January 1st and complete our first member satisfaction and financial review no later than mid-year 2012. That is our presentation tonight, and we'll be glad to answer any questions or listen to any comments.
Do board members have questions? Mr. Ziegler.
Thank you. I'm sure it's no surprise that I have questions, since I've been looking to do something with a clinic model or a alternative healthcare model for employees for several years now. First, I'd like to start off by saying, Kevin, I'm very impressed. I sat in on some SIAC meetings. I was concerned that they were being steered by opinion and not by data and facts, and I was really praying that someone would step up and get involved and visit and analyze, and thank you very much for doing that. I know that's a lot of work. Thank you. Curious, you didn't mention anything about startup costs. Are there any startup costs to this?
Only the brief mention I made of marketing collateral materials, printing the brochures, the signage, which will be tasteful and modest. We'll have to have 11 to 15 of these plaques, stand-up plaques made, so the providers can put them where people check in and know that they're in a preferred health center. Other than that, not for us.
Okay. I'm sure some effort on your part and your department's part, but I understand that's minimal. That's very good. And we see how the costs are calculated based on a reduction in ER visits. Out of curiosity, of the 180 ER visits, which would be 100% per month, how many of those are actually serviceable by an urgent care center?
Well, we would have to look at the actual claims history, but our sense is, and by the way, let me be clear, we have been promoting urgent care over ER for some time now, and we actually have seen an increase over the past couple of years, a substantial increase. To answer your question, most things that involve accidents that aren't severe accidents, most issues that are not cardiac. I know most of these places, if they believe it's a cardiac issue, they will send them immediately to the hospital and will not treat them there. A percentage?
Well, we can get the data.
We can get the data.
But, you know, the unknown
I
data
figured
would be-
you would have that, but not necessarily on the top of your head. I'm just curious the potential of these, because if we're saying, well, only 15, 20% of those ER visits can be handled by urgent care, there's not a lot of capacity for growth. But if we could say 50 plus, then I could see a great future in this.
We do know, although it's improved, that many employees and members still, their initial reaction, and Kevin and I were talking about this tonight. You want to tell them your story?
Well, yeah. First off, I remember a lot of what the doctor said. They can handle lacerations. As a matter of fact, one of them mentioned a laceration from a chainsaw that people would look at it and say, I have to go to an ER, but they were able to handle that. Some of the facilities can even cast, do casting there, which is, so there are a lot. I mean, this is what doctors were telling us. There's a lot of issues, but that's where I got the 90% number. I think the doctor at one of the facilities said 90% of what of what goes to an ER, we can service here, unless it's after hours, you know, and it's a true emergency, or it's what Susan mentioned, a cardiac. Now, I've taken my family for, you know, my kids have had asthma problems. I've taken them there when I just thought when they couldn't breathe, you know, my first reaction when I first started working, let's take them to the ER. Now I take them to the urgent care. They get just as good a quality, plus there's the lack of the 4-hour wait when you're in the ER. You're in and out in about an hour at the most. So, you know, I know they can pull the data for you, but I have a feeling it's going to be around the number that you're wanting to. I mean, you're wanting, but.
And you actually answered another question for me, because we were talking about, or you were talking about preferred response or service for Brevard public school employees, and I was curious what the priority arrangement or agreement was, so that we don't hear from our employees that it's no different than waiting in an ER. Our goal is to provide them quicker, faster service.
There have been times where I've taken my entire family to an urgent care, because I know there's a lot less of a wait there than even with my primary care doctor. Now, we don't want to replace the primary care, but I was looking at it just from a time perspective. I can get in and get out. And most of the providers said that they can manage pretty much any issue in about an hour, and based on what they commonly see go into an ER.
Are any of these dispensaries? No.
Yeah.
Answer that? Well, they're not dispensaries per se, but they are all focused on prescribing generic drugs or directing patients to places where they can get free antibiotics, like Publix and other places like that. And this is what they're all about, because many of them see a lot of patients who could not afford. They're geared and focused on low-cost medicine, but they are not dispensaries per se.
Okay, thank you. And last, I just want to say I am very excited about being able to provide this to our employees. But I'll be clear, this is not at all what I envisioned, nor do I feel it is an alternative to what I was envisioning, because I think there's a lot more that we can do for our employees. But then again, honestly, what I was envisioning did not include urgent care. So I think this is a great component and a great tool for our employees, and I could see how it could even work, coincide with what I'm envisioning. And I'm hoping that once we get past this, that the board will be okay with us analyzing data, which will be more mature from other school districts and government agencies who are using clinic models to decide if it's something that we can do and add and enhance the program. So thank you for all your work. Very impressed with what you developed.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Mingley.
Thank you, Dr. Murray. Before you guys leave, I do just want to say thank you to the team. It is, as Susan mentioned, it's referred to as the Superintendent's Insurance Advisory Committee. And Susan will probably tell you I have only come before them once. And that was really the first time after we restructured that committee to try to make it more effective. And my simple message was, you all have to dig in and get busy looking at every potential programmatic solution that might be out there, because there are a lot of people counting on you. And that's more or less what you guys have done. And I just want to thank you for that work and that effort, because it's very clear that we continue to benefit from your work and the thinking that's coming out of that team. So thank you, Susan. Now, item D15 is the 2010-2011 district results for science research, Odyssey of the Mind, and future problem solving presentation. Future problem solving, Odyssey of the Mind, and science research are global programs that have competitions at the local, state, and international levels. These programs provide student opportunities for creative problem solving, critical thinking, and enrichment beyond the standard curriculum. This evening, Mr. Bob McLaren, middle school language arts and social studies resource teacher, Ms. Evelyn Skermetta, gifted and accelerated programs resource teacher, and Ms. Ginger Davis, secondary science resource teacher, will present the 2010-2011 results for Brevard Public Schools. So take it away.
Good evening, Dr. Bingley, Dr. Murray, members of the board, members of the audience. Future problem solving, Odyssey of the Mind, and science research are examples of programs where excellence is the standard of achievement for Brevard students. Brevard, along with Indian River County, make up the Space Coast District of the Florida Future Problem Solving Program. Florida Future Problem Solving is an affiliate of the Future Problem Solving Program International. Through Future Problem Solving, or FPS, participants develop skills of teamwork, communication, research, critical and creative thinking, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. They learn to apply these skills to situations that are futuristic but oriented to real-life experiences. Students develop leadership skills as they solve problems in creative ways. FPS involves students from 12 foreign nations and 45 states. The basis of FPS is a six-step process. Students use their problem-solving skills to identify possible challenges, formulate an underlying problem, brainstorm possible solutions, develop and apply evaluation criteria, and create an action plan to solve the underlying problem. The FPS program is comprised of three components. In global issues problem solving, teams or individuals use the six-step process to explore challenges and propose solutions to complex societal problems. Scenario writing is an individual competition in which students write a story set 20 years in the future. The story focuses on one main character and develops that character throughout the plot of the story. Community problem solving is another team or individual competition where students apply their FPS skills to solve real community problems. Actual implementation of the student action plan is a major focus of this component. Brevard Future Problem Solving continues to lead the state in the number of competitors and winners at both the state and international competition. You can see here from this slide that Brevard has over 50% in all of the categories statewide. Brevard teams and individuals outperform all other competing districts in the state, making Brevard County first in Florida in future problem solving. The next presenter is Mrs. Evelyn Scarmetta, who will discuss Odyssey of the Mind.
Thank you, Bob. Good evening, Dr. Bingley, Dr. Murray, and esteemed board members. It is my pleasure to present the 2010-2011 OM data to you and the public this evening. Odyssey of the Mind, better known as OM, has thousands of students from throughout the United States and from over 25 other countries participating in local, state, and world competitions. What is Odyssey of the Mind? OM is an international educational program that provides creative problem-solving opportunities for students of all abilities, not just gifted, kindergarten through college. It helps teachers generate excitement in their students. By tapping into creativity and through encouraging imaginative paths to problem solving, students learn skills that will provide them with ability to solve problems, great and small, for a lifetime. Characteristics of OM. And again, OM is a little different from future problem solving as it's not as formulaic. In OM, students build team-building skills by working on solutions to long-range problems in groups of up to 7 students. Students learn how to identify challenges and to think creatively to solve those problems. Students learn not to limit possible solutions and are encouraged to think outside the box. They are free to express their ideas and suggestions without fear of criticism. Students of all ability levels find something that will appeal to them, whether it be a technical, an artistic, or a performance-based problem. And lastly, the fun of participating in OM leads to an elevated interest in the regular classroom curricula. Each year, 5 long-range problems are created by the OM organizations. Students can select from either a technical, artistic, are performance-based problems. Some of those problems might include, in the classical division, to rewrite or add a chapter to the classic Moby Dick and then act it out. And then one of the technical divisions, which is called structure, they might be asked to design and build a structure using balsa wood and glue only, and that structure must hold 1,000 pounds. When I taught at Delora Junior High School many years ago, this is the problem that my students always wanted to challenge themselves with because it was so difficult. Students compete in one of 4 age divisions, which include K-5, 6-8, 9-12, and college level. Once you're an OMer, you're always an OMer, and these students go on and compete at the college level. After months of problem solving, students present their solutions to their long-range problems at local, state, and international competitions. At each level of OM competitions, students are also given an on-the-spot, spontaneous problem that forces the students to think on their feet. It is this killer combination of long-term problem solving, spontaneous problem solving, and a few style points that are accumulated on the way that builds a confident, able student that can tackle real-world problems with creative solutions. Brevard continues to perform well in OM. We're second in the state in the number of teams that participated at the state competition, 33 teams out of 256. Brevard is second in the state competition with 9 teams placing in the top 5. We're also second in the state with the number of teams that qualified for world finals. And those teams were, O'Galley had 2 teams, Roy Allen had 1, Sunrise had 1 team, and so did Roosevelt. And then we were 4th in the state in the top 20 at world finals, and that was Roy Allen Elementary that placed 18th out of 39. This is our comparative data, and the table shows we're not number 1 like FPS, but we still have that standard of excellence in OM, but I want to state we also open OM to all students of all abilities, not just gifted, because there is a rule, not stated anywhere, that gifted programs compete in at least 1 FPS or 1 OM competition. So OM, though, is open to all students of all abilities. So I think we do very well by placing second. I would also like to invite Dr. Bingley and the board to our district competition at Bayside High School, March 3rd. You'll have about 500 students dressed really funny and quirky and running all over the place. It's the most wonderful thing that you will ever experience if you come. It is now my pleasure to introduce Ginger Davis, secondary science resource teacher, who has actually served as a coach for all 3 of these problem-solving competitions being presented this evening, FPS, OM, and science research.
Good evening. I am honored to be here this evening, and Evelyn's right. Having coached all 3 of these activities, I'm well aware of how much work is involved and how well our students perform in these activities. In science research, we do prepare the next generation. And not only have we historically prepared many successful doctors, researchers, and others in the science field, we've also prepared community leaders, successful business people, educators, lawyers, and other outstanding community leaders. For those who don't know what the program is, science research is a program in which our students become practicing scientists. They experience research through they experience science through original scientific research. They develop real-world connections with the work they're doing, and they build communication skills to explain their work. Here's a list of some of our winners from last year, and that photograph of some of our students who were at the International Science Fair. You can see that our students won both the senior biological and the senior physical best of show at the State Science Fair, in addition to the 8 first places and the 62 places. Plus, we had 6 international science fair place winners at the International Fair and 2 special award winners. But wait, there's more. Here's another list, and I won't go through and read them all, but you can see all those winners that we had. And when folks look at this list, they'll often say, not bad for 10 years. But I just want to point out, this is just last year. And we're really proud of how well our students do. And believe it or not, last year was a pretty typical year. Brevard is awesome in science research. Just a summary again of how we did compared to the rest of the state. We do rank number 1. We took 27.6% of all the first place awards at the State Science Fair, 15.3% of all the place awards, and as I mentioned, we took the senior physical and biological best of show at the State Science Fair. And there's our comparative grid, just showing you how we did next to the other districts in Florida. So just in summary, in case you didn't get that message, Brevard is number 1 again. And Dr. Bingley, I hope you'll forgive that we did put that picture in there. I'm sorry, but you've been one of our biggest supporters, coming to all the fairs, showing up to see the kids off to the State Science Fair, showing up at the State Science Fair, and we really appreciate all that support. Also, that's 2 of our outstanding science research teachers pictured there. So just want to make sure it's clear that we are number 1 again. And I often get asked, well, we all do when we travel the state, okay, so how do you do it? Because we do this year after year. And of course, one way we do it is that we have awesome students. They are talented, they are dedicated, they are hardworking. We also have the best teachers anywhere. We have dedicated, hardworking, very talented teachers. You're seeing here Mr. Regan at Stone and Ms. Still from McNair, who work really hard with their students. But in addition, we do have unparalleled support for our programs. I want to thank the board for the support that you give us, from the formal funding types of support to showing up at these events, because it means a lot. The district has a strong, organized structure of leadership and support for these programs. Our schools give the time and space for supporting the programs. Our parents serve as mentors and chaperones and cheerleaders. And our community as a whole provides judges and awards, and they serve as mentors, and they also let our students know how important they think these activities are. So in summary, in Brevard, excellence is and continues to be the standard. So do you have any questions?
Thank you. Any board members? I guess I just want to say thank you very much to the 3 of you and all of our teachers that are coaches and also facilitate these activities in their general classrooms. It's greatly appreciated, and you always make us proud. And when I go to state meetings, people stand up and notice Brevard County as soon as they see, you know, my name badge. It's like, oh, you're from Brevard County. So we're always proud to be there, and so thank you for everything you do. Dr. Bingley?
Just actually kind of pulling the 2 presentations together, and I'm not being trite when I say this, that the very same skill set and things that you're talking about are really what we need for people on the Superintendent's Insurance Advisory Committee to utilize. And quite frankly, that's the point. You know, there's a reason we have the acquisition of 21st century skills in our strategic plan. And that is that committee and many, many more like it. Those are the things that our kids are going to need to be able to do when they encounter committees of all types in all occupations. And so I do appreciate the work that you put in, and I'm not being tried. They absolutely have to bring that kind of problem-solving approach to a very challenging and futuristic issue. And so thank you for that. We really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. This brings us to public discussion. The maximum allotted time for each speaker is 3 minutes. Please be advised that we, the board, will not respond to your comments or requests this evening, but the superintendent of schools will investigate them and respond to you in a timely manner. Please speak into the microphone and state your name for the record. We have 6 speakers. We will begin with Chip Bach, and our second speaker, to be close at hand, is Mansour Samani, and third is Steve Thomas.
All set. My name is Chip Bach. I'm from southern Brevard County on Highway A1A in the Melbourne Beach area. I wanted to thank the board for your due diligence this year regarding children's access to the Rita Boulevard bus stop for Gemini Elementary. I know that the board is faced with many difficult and sometimes complicated decisions. Your commitment to maintain fairness and consistency regarding these difficult topics is to be commended. As a parent with a 7-year-old daughter just beginning her journey through the Brevard school system, it has been a pleasure to work with you all in this issue. I was pleased at the last board meeting to hear your individual input on the Gemini bus stop walk route along Highway A1A, and was impressed with your insight and guidance regarding the young children potentially affected by these issues. Tonight you will vote on the safety of these children on Highway A1A in southern Brevard County, and I hope that your thoughts and comments at the last meeting ring true again tonight, and together we can continue to think outside the box and provide safe and exciting experience for our children to learn and grow in Brevard County. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Samani? Mm-hmm. Okay. You can go ahead.
All right, thank you. Good evening. My name is Mansour Samani, and my son plays varsity soccer at Titusville High School. I have tried for 2 years to work with varying levels of school board administration, athletic director Dan Diesel, principal Laurie Spinner, Dr. Bobet, and even Dr. Bengali, to voice my concern and request action be taken to make soccer team fair and equitable to all players. In response, I have been told the following. It is perfectly okay for a coach's child to be given preferential treatment. It is perfectly okay for the coach to lie and say club players were given preferential treatment in regard to jersey numbering to explain this nepotism. It is even okay for the principal to wink and smile at the coach during the meeting as I was speaking. What does it take to be treated professionally and as a stakeholder? Why is treatment of a student that would never be tolerated in a class tolerated on the field? The athletic program at THS is in serious decline and has been for 5 years. Dedicated teacher coaches are not supported in their effort. Out of frustration, they leave the position, often replaced by any warm body that can conveniently fill out the spot. Athletes are leaving THS. For a student to leave their friends, teachers, and homeschool, that tells you something is seriously wrong. I request an investigation into THS athletic and nepotism on the boys' varsity soccer team. Last, I would like to suggest giving teachers the first choice at a coaching job. A community coach may be in a position longer than they should, with no chance for a teacher to move into their spot. Kids benefit from having a coach on the campus. Community coaching position should be one season only and then reposted to solicit teachers' interest. With a freeze on raises, this would supplement teachers. Only if no teacher wants the position, then it should be offered to the community coach. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Steve Thomas, and Richard Smith next, and Marcus Hockman after that. Mr. Thomas?
Good evening. I'm Steve Thomas. I'm a math teacher at West Shore Junior Senior High School. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My purpose in speaking today is to discuss teacher compensation. As best as I can understand your plan, it is for teachers in Brevard County to wait for the economy to improve. Until then, we should expect our take-home pay to continue declining due to inflation and other factors. I hope by now you have noticed the change in teacher morale and the plight of teachers concerning their ability to make ends meet. In both cases, the change is for the worst. To summarize, I'll use the format used in the popular story movie, A Christmas Carol. So here are 3 memories that I trust you will find appropriate for this situation. Last year at a special BFT meeting for all teachers that was attended by Dr. Bingley in Merritt Island, the entire bargaining committee, a veteran teacher said he was going to have to change his plan to delay his surgery until the summer. He wanted to stay in his classroom. The reason for the change was the new Brevard health insurance plan was going to increase his out-of-pocket costs to the point where he would not be capable of having the much-needed operation if he delayed it. The second vision that I want to bring to your memory is last month at a board meeting, a 25-year veteran teacher of Brevard County told everyone present that she was losing her house to foreclosure and that she was not sure which would be best for her school-aged boys, to inform them before Christmas or after Christmas that this was going to be their last Christmas in their home. The third memory I'd like to bring to your presence is also last month, Jacob, a 10-year-old Brevard County student, announced that he was the future. And then he said these words. The word on the street in Florida colleges is once you get your teaching degree, then get outside the state of Florida to pursue your teaching career. I believe the problem has been well documented. I also think that the leadership to resolve this problem has fallen short of what we in Brevard County Schools of Excellence should expect of it. I believe your plan to wait until something happens is a flawed plan. Therefore, in the spirit of being a part of the solution, I offer you this recommendation concerning the ongoing teacher compensation challenge. Dr. Bingley, I urge you to direct your budget office to prepare a second version of this year's budget. Your guidance to your budget office would include that the second version has to include all steps to be restored to all loyal Brevard County teachers. The 2 versions of this budget, of the budget, then would be shared with the school board and BFT negotiating team. Dr. Bingley and the school board, by pursuing this option, everyone in leadership will be able to see the feasibility of returning teacher pay to where we all know it belongs.
Thank you, sir.
This will, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Richard Smith, Marcus, and then John Crosby.
Dr. Bingley, I'm here to deliver a speech that is a result of dozens of school visits by me. I'd like for everyone here to know that I'm here tonight to speak for the teachers, that some of whom are still at schools working on their professional growth plans, or PGPs. You, Dr. Bingley, are not doing your job. The PGP is supposed to be a part of a system that's consistent and clearly understood. When the first step of PGP production is consulting data, and that data isn't available, Dr. Bingley, you're not doing your job. When teachers on one campus are told that they may not work together, and on other campuses they must work together, Dr. Bingley, you're not doing your job. When some teachers are told they can cite the same research and others are told they will lose points if they do cite the same research, again, you're not doing your job. When principals tell teachers what their stretch goal will be, and some allow some goals but not others, while some principals allow the teaching professional to choose their stretch goals, again, you're not doing your job. Dr. Bingley, your job is to make the PGP something we teachers can believe in and understand. The PGP is supposed to improve instruction. So far, it has only taken time from instruction and angered teachers. Dr. Bingley, from all the teachers that I've met with for all the weeks, I want you to know that we do not believe that you're doing your job. Thank you.
Okay, Marcus Hockman? 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 Okay, you're looking at me funny, so I was worried there for a minute.
That's
and
all
then,
good.
And then John Crosby.
All right. Good evening, school board members and Dr. Bingley. My name is Marcus. I'm here with the intent of discussing a hypothetical PGP for our district. Please do note that this is a rough draft. The rationale for PGP goal. During the school year of 2010-2011, BFT and our school district worked together to create the instructional personal appraisal system. My expectation is for BFT and the school district to work collaboratively throughout this work in progress for this year and the upcoming school years. For the quantitative data, we would create a continuous monitoring survey. We then create a reasonable quantitative expectation for any issues that we need to improve on. We understand this was forced upon us by the state. I understand why our district wants to begin this now, even though other districts in the state of Florida are not doing so. We know that BFT and our school district want to make the teachers be the best they can be. My research is based on collaborating on school reform, creating union management partnerships to improve public school systems from Rutgers University. This research was focused on several school districts throughout the country that work with their teacher unions on strategic priorities, supportive system and infrastructure, and sustaining factors. There are times that I assume too much from us. For example, do we know how to talk with each other instead of talking to each other, which I happen to be doing right now? Think about that, please. I would like the goal to be that BFT and our school district work hand in hand to prove on the IPPAS and the implementation of the IPPAS that we created together. Or is this too much of a stretch goal? I know this is not the case. The professional growth plan goal. We as a district and BFT will continue collaborative practices that will enhance our teacher success on the instructional personal performance appraisal system. As a part of this expectation, we will learn and implement effective collaboration strategies for all our district to achieve learning gains. Some of the strategies would for BFT in our district will create continuous monitoring survey of the personal system, appraisal system, to go over the positives and also to go over any issues that we need to work together and find the solutions. And for the outcome measure and reflection, for a BFT and our school district to gain more respect for each other through the process of working with each other. And I do not think you can place a quantitative measure on this value. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Mr. Crosby?
Good evening, Mr. Bignelli, board members. I'm here to speak a little bit about agenda item number 25, special about the Century Elementary courtesy busing. As online in the discussion for this item, it says that the team that evaluated the path that our children from Windsor Estates would travel to Century Elementary says they were unanimous in each situation that hazardous walking conditions did not exist. Therefore, it is the staff's recommendation that the district eliminate the special transportation service. I sent each of the board members today at 1:44 p.m. an email with some photographic evidence that indicates that there is, in fact, a non-compliant area of the pathway that constitutes a hazardous walkway. My suggestion is that Mr. Connors actually applied to the state for funding for that bus since we have a hazardous walkway. And then we don't have to worry about the budget for providing a courtesy bus that's not funded by the state. On top of that, Mr. Connor was of the opinion that perhaps the curb could also count as a walkway, but according to Florida state statutes, the section 316.003, subsection 6, 28, and 47, sidewalk is that portion of the street from the curb line to the adjacent property line, so the curb is not counted. Therefore, right now, we have a 41.5-inch walkway, which is way underneath the 48 minimum inches necessary to not be a hazardous walkway. I would think that we should submit this finding to the state to get the funding, full funding for the bus route. Additionally, for about the last month, there's a child that our bus that comes to our subdivision also crosses over Wickham and goes to the east side of Wickham to the suites over there and picks up a child there. There is no walkway between the suites and Wickham. Therefore, if we got rid of the bus route for the other 45 students, it's a full bus. It's not even a half bus or a partial bus. It's a full bus to service one child, then that would be disingenuous. So I think that we have, in closing, since I have a yellow light, this is about safety, first and foremost. And we need not look any further than the name of the street, Jordan Blast Drive, that Century is located. As you probably all know, that street was named in memoriam of a child who died, who was a student on that street, who was a student at Century Elementary. Thank you.
Thank you. The board wishes to thank tonight's speakers. Your willingness to speak to the board is appreciated. As stated earlier, Dr. Bingley will investigate your comments or requests and respond to you in a timely manner. That moves us into the consent agenda. Dr. Bingley?
Thank you, Dr. Murray. There are 28 agenda items under this category, 14 consent items with no prior information, and 14 consent items with prior information.
Does any board member wish to pull any item? Mrs. Nisi?
I want to pull all the transportation items, F20 through F26.
Mr. Ziegler?
F29 and F30.
Dr. Krepp? You're covered? Mrs. Henderson? You're good? Okay. Jackie, could you please move those items? Then I will entertain a motion to accept the consent items with the exception of those items that were pulled for discussion. Moved.
Second.
Okay, it was moved by Mrs. Henderson and seconded by Mr. Ziegler to approve the consent items remaining. Any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, let's vote. Do a voice vote? Okay. Mr. Ziegler? Or wait, rather, you want to go individually, or do you want to just? You can just do a Okay, since we do it that way, okay, Mr. Ziegler, aye?
Aye.
Mrs. Nisi? Aye. Mrs. I am aye, and Mrs. Henderson? Aye. Dr. Krepp?
Aye.
Okay, so the motion carries 5-0. Okay, let's begin in order. Mrs. Nisi, F20.
Okay, I just have some final questions to ask in regards to designating a bus route as dangerous. I'm not for sure who can answer the first question. I read through the statute again, and I know we get some funding for transportation, but when a route is deemed dangerous for elementary students, because that's the only place in the statute we have that, if the board designates a route as dangerous, is there any funding for that route, or is that totally, we deem it dangerous, we pick up the cost?
Okay, Dr. Bingley, you want to comment?
Allow Mr. Connors and/or Ms. Preston to speak to that.
If it is locally designated hazardous and does not meet that definition in the statute that the state has prescribed, we receive no funding.
Okay, if it does meet, how do we get state designation of a route being dangerous then?
Ms. Nisi, it has to meet that those criteria in Florida Statute 100623. Then I report it as such to the Department of Education. It's logged into their system, and whenever we designate those students on our FEFP report, each year we have to have that code associated with the hazardous walking next to them so that we get funding.
Okay, so for example, the Harbor City route. When I went through and looked at the designations, one of the things was marked that no, the students didn't have access to a sidewalk the whole time and did have to walk in the road. So my question is that, so does that mean that that route would be deemed dangerous and could fit the criteria since it was marked no instead of yes?
No, ma'am, because below that, it says that does not apply if any of the below exist. And one of them's it's in a residential area with limited or no flow through traffic. And because that's where it is, it's where they live, where that was checked, no walkway.
Okay, so going back to the Gemini route, is it still a matter that we're going to agree to disagree that the children are not having to walk in the road on that route? Because if it's a matter of funding, I drove down the route again on Sunday, and there was another place where there's a turn lane to turn off into a road. It's not into the neighborhood that's the Hamptons. It's beyond that, and the walking path is a turn lane to an active subdivision. So is that considered a road, and was that missed in the evaluation?
Ms. Nisi, I think we have to beg to disagree on this because the team saw it as an adequate walkway adjacent to the unused turn lane that turned in there.
This is a second location. This isn't the location that you're referring to. This is a totally separate location that's further south on A1A where the walking path is a part of the turn lane.
I'm standing here right now, it's not coming to my mind exactly what you're talking about, Ms. Nisi.
You're referring to the 4-inch wide white line that separates the walkway from the turning lane.
Yeah, I know the big issue I talked about at the last meeting was the Hamptons, but there is a neighborhood, and I think it was at Sun Harbor. If I would have known there would be video clips this afternoon that hit my mailbox at 1:30 today, I would have taken another video shot of that, but it is an actual separate neighborhood, which is why I don't mean to put anyone on the spot. I think it was an honest mistake that was missed, Mr. Connors, and I'm just asking, is it possible that that was missed?
Ms. Nisi, as you say, it could have been something we missed. I don't think so. The team looked at that area and felt that there were 4 feet of walk space all the way from Rita Boulevard in that area all the way to Gemini.
Let me interrupt here a minute, with all due respect. Dr. Bingley, would you care to state to the board why, your recommendation, your philosophy, and your
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really just want to frame our recommendation to you and then allow you to carry on with whatever you want to do. But, Certainly, Mr. Connors, in his role as Director of Transportation, receives a multitude of requests that ask us to vary from our established procedures. Everyone feels there is merit and often urgency behind such a requested variance, but the fact that our procedures are set for a reason, often to be in concert with Florida statutes and state board rules, means that Mr. Connors finds himself in a position of saying no more than he says yes. Those circumstances virtually guarantee the types of appeals we have before us. When reviewing those, it is popular, and not without a measure of truth, to say that we need to judge each case individually. Understand that. However, those who, like Mr. Connors, carry the burden of judging myriad exceptions know that their greatest ally is consistency. State board rules state that a parent is responsible for making decisions related to the safe transportation of a child residing less than 2 miles from school. Brevard Public Schools has, when space is available, allowed for those parents to pay a nominal fee to utilize our normal bus service. That is how we have consistently provided another option to parents, and nearly 100 families currently utilize that option. It is with all of this in mind that we make the recommendations that we have before you. Now, finally, I've painted Mr. Connors' job as difficult, and that is true. What I want to make sure does not happen is that his efforts to make reasoned and consistent decisions are misconstrued as not caring about the safety of children. The fact is that he and his staff, through routing, training, vehicle inspection and maintenance, and ongoing supervision, keep the safe transportation of thousands of children every day as their #1 priority. And I just wanted to make sure that I got that out there publicly as we frame this discussion. And with that, I'll let you all carry on.
Okay, Mrs. Nisi, you have more to...
Yeah, I just want to say, I honestly wanted to make sure that I didn't make a mistake. When I went and drove A1A again, guys, on Sunday, I drove it, and I even took that particular turn lane out of the picture, and I guess I should have taken a video of it. But there is a second turn lane that is part of the walking path. There is not a separate walking path. There is nothing. And it's a turn lane going into a large subdivision. And if a turn lane is considered a road, then I believe just in that spot, we reach the statute of dangerous. And I would be more than happy to go out and take video. I'd be more than happy to take a staff member out and show them exactly where I'm talking about. I'm not trying to disparage anyone. I know we're all here for students, Dr. Bingley, and I would never want any of my comments over the weeks or up to this past year ever indicate differently. But I honestly am going to continue to say this route fits that definition, and it has not been looked at in all areas. And I'm going to hold to that. I'd like to hear, and in the other areas, I guess I wanted to hear from the other board members since they were in their areas if they had any questions or concerns.
Mr. Ziegler?
Thank you. Referring to the Gemini route and a statute that somebody had sent us, interestingly enough, it says, whenever the road along which students must walk is uncurbed, this is uncurbed, and has a posted speed limit of 55 miles an hour. I think this is 45. Right. The area as described above, students to walk upon shall be set off the road by no less than 3 feet from the edge of the road. I think this qualifies with the exception of 45 miles an hour. Okay, I don't see much of a difference between 45 miles an hour and 55 miles an hour with head-on traffic. So I think that the fact that it's that close and there is no cost to the district, that I support maintaining this bus route.
Mrs. Henderson?
I think that we get into a slippery slope here. It is clear that under 2 miles, it is the responsibility of the parent. I think that these parents have the opportunity to continue to ride the bus and pay a nominal fee like every other parent in our district who is under 2 miles. Because where is their responsibility in this? They have to, the law says we're responsible for 2 miles over, they're responsible for under. I also am very concerned about what this means if we don't accept the superintendent's recommendation as far as what the committee, the transportation committee means. Does that mean that everything would then come back to the board? Every decision for every piece of transportation, would come back to us? Because, you know, everybody else is going to come back to us for whatever reason, and then it becomes a board decision rather than a transportation decision. I personally don't want to get into that. I don't want to be into the day-to-day having to make decisions on everybody's routes. The other thing is, I really do not know what is different, and nobody has explained to me what is different today versus 2 or 3 years ago. The way I understand it, it has been this way for quite a while, so I'm not getting the big difference here. That something has been done very recently to make this
They
more
were right,
unsafe.
that area was riding all along, Mrs. Henderson, and this year ago when I brought this up, was when the decision was made to cancel the route. So it was always on the route.
What do you mean?
This wasn't specially arranged transportation. This area was always riding the bus. No questions asked. It was only within the past 2 years where this group was told they were no longer eligible.
Well, I was under the understanding that somebody had inaccurately let people on the bus. But, okay, well, that's what I was told. Mr. Connors, would you like to speak to that?
Ms. Neesey, very respectfully, please. We checked all the way back our bus routes going back through the 2004 and 2005 school year. We also checked our hazardous walking. That area has never been deemed hazardous. It has never been offered transportation through that whole time. There could have been an issue with a student that was on the bus, and we found out that they were inside 2 miles and we took them off the bus, but we never ever deemed that hazardous.
No, I know that. I just know that those people were always riding the bus. And it's come up, I'm just talking to the parents, that's what I was told. So it could very well be. I'm not going to argue, I'm not going to disagree with you on that one, of course.
And when we found out they were on the bus, we told them they had to get off the bus.
Mr. Ziegler?
Thank you. With all due respect, I do think a lot of the things we do are slippery slope, and we can't waltz away from making hard decisions. And if this board has to take time to make some of these decisions because they're judgmental, that's pretty much what we signed up for. I don't believe we're going to see that many that it's a concern as far as being time-consuming, and if it is, so be it.
Well, I'm going to jump in here, finally. I actually spoke with Attorney Beislein and Mr. Connor both, and I think the thing that catches my attention is the fact that the state stipulates parents are responsible for students within that 2-mile limit, and we are responsible for others. I wanted to guarantee that we were not going to cease the opportunity for parents to pay for their students to ride if they felt it necessary, and the criteria were met in terms of seating, and that the bus would not have to go off of a route or out of their way to add cost to the district to transport a student within that limit. And I was told that no, that's still going to be in place. So when I learned that, giving consideration to the statute, and the service is still available at a cost to the parent, and the statute, in fact, emphasizes that it's the parent's responsibility, that I would support the recommendation at this time. The other thing that I would like to say, board members, with all respect, I think we do have a very strong collegial and professional way of doing business up here. But I think that we need to exercise every caution possible towards getting into the day-to-day operations and stepping in, making decisions that truthfully aren't ours to make. And so again, I would ask the board when casting their vote to be very cautious about the precedent that they're setting and what we are, whether we are preparing this board and future boards to act beyond their role as given by statute, which is policy making. And again, I would strongly discourage that. Mrs. Nisi?
When I went back and read the statute, another question I had is that the district, it said it could provide transportation for disadvantaged areas. It talked about statute 427.011. What does that reference? Does anyone know? And the reason I bring it up is I know McNair's request was because those students were in a disadvantaged area and that the attendance went down when we didn't provide that, and that those students were under the free and reduced lunch. So in that particular statute, it references that we may, I read the transportation statute, it said the school district may provide transportation. It listed like migrant populations, it listed disadvantaged. Can you tell me anything about that, Mr. Connors?
To the best of my knowledge, Ms. Nisi, it doesn't apply in the McNair situation because there's the student population there, as you already mentioned, migrant-type students, really disadvantaged-type students, and it doesn't apply.
Mr. Beislein, what is that policy, 427.011? Then, because what does disadvantaged mean then?
I did look at that. It's been some time. I believe that the gist of that was rural populations where the people don't have the ability to get around. That's what I remember.
My comment, just to follow up what Dr. Murray said, I've tried to be nice for a year on this issue, folks. And I understand that it's not our role to micromanage, but I'd also like to remind every person sitting here that our role is not to rubber stamp everything senior staff brings to us. And I personally feel I've been bullied by the transportation department on this request for a year. It has been pushed back, it has been pushed aside, and every excuse in the book has been given why this route does not constitute a dangerous route. I don't believe I'm setting precedents. If I would have known I was going to receive this type of response after the last meeting, I would have personally brought in pictures. But for all intents and purposes, that particular route is mismarked. I'm not going to accuse anyone of lying on purpose, but it is wrong. I can go out and get pictures tomorrow and show you it is wrong. And if you're going to allow senior staff to bully your decisions, then I'm disappointed in this board.
Mr. Ziegler?
Do we have a time frame for those that we eliminate for implementing the removal of service? Is there a date for that?
We talked about at the semester break, and therefore provide opportunity for plenty of time for parents to make necessary arrangements.
I wanted to make sure of that. Thank you.
Any other, Dr. Krupp?
Is there a possibility to postpone this situation until the next board meeting to clarify the situations that Ms. Nisi's talking about? Or do we need to act on each one of these tonight?
Dr. Bingley?
No, it would be your prerogative. I mean, again, our time frame is such that we want to be fair to parents regarding whatever decision we make, and particularly if the board is to accept our recommendation, we want to give them all the time that we can. So the answer is, you know, that certainly is at your discretion.
I would welcome the opportunity to go with Mr. Connors and show him the area I'm concerned with, and if I'm wrong, I will be more than happy to make a public apology to him and this board at the next board meeting.
Mr. Ziegler?
I have comment about another item, but I didn't know if we were going to be addressing one at a time.
Okay, let's hold that thought a minute. Dr. Krupp?
Could I get clarification again then on courtesy busing? Is this free as long as the bus is in the area? Or are we saying that parents pay based on statute?
Mr. Connor, you want to address that?
Dr. Krupp, two different things here. Courtesy busing is the unfunded, we just do the transportation, we put them on the bus. The fee-based is where they're inside 2 miles, and if there's room on the bus, we charge them a nominal fee, and we allow them as long as I said, seats on the bus. Two different things. With the courtesy busing, as you see even with our own state, OPAGA, with many states, they often recommend school districts look strongly at discontinuing courtesy busing for efficiency and cost. And so that's one of the reasons. But the fair and consistent reason is the main player in this whole thing.
What's the pleasure of the board on the, let me ask Mrs. Nisi first. Are you wanting to postpone F20 or all of them? Or I guess it was Dr. Krupp that said that, but which one? You referred to Mrs. Nisi, so.
Since my questions were answered on what economic disadvantaged and all of those, I'm fine. The only other thing I wanted to pull was, the reason I pulled F26 is that it noted a route was ended at University Park as part of that report. And what I would like in future, the board always approves every bus route. So doing what we're talking about tonight is not outside of our purview because we do it every year before the start of school. What I would ask is if there's any routes that are being dropped when the board approves those. Right now, the only information we get when we approve that item is how many routes there are, if they're new, if they're more than an hour, less than an hour. I would like to know for the future. I would not have known that University Park had been dropped if I hadn't read this report. So if a route's being dropped because it's now deemed safe or something has changed, I would like that noted in the information item, please.
Okay, so once again, that's
Wanting
noted.
Gemini. Yeah, Gemini, and as I said,
Yeah.
if I'm wrong, I will come back and apologize at the next board meeting.
So we're talking about item F20 specifically, so what is the pleasure of the board at that point? Do you want to delay, or do I entertain a motion to approve F20?
But I would move to, well, I would move to not accept the recommendation to eliminate the stop. We could word it
Okay.
either way and
Is there a
vote accordingly.
Is there a second?
Oh, I'll second that, but, well, wait, I'll second it for discussion, F20. My question is, I guess, okay, I know he supported me, but my question is, he was asking to not approve it. My question, why I would say with discussion, if it would bring this board back together on this item, my better preference would be to postpone and go out and show the situation, because I don't want hard feelings with anyone in this
Okay,
room.
I withdraw
based
my
on-
motion.
Oh, you withdraw the motion, okay. Based on Roberts then, okay, the motion has been withdrawn. So at this point, what is the pleasure of the board on item 20? Consensus to postpone?
Move to postpone.
Move to postpone. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Ziegler and seconded by Mrs. Nisi to postpone item F20 for further review. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, then let's vote. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, mine's not coming up. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, the vote carries to postpone 4 in favor, 1 against. Okay, now, Mr. Ziegler, you wanted to,
I have a question about F24, Palm Bay High. Apparently, this was put into place for hazardous conditions. I'm curious as to when it was put in place, because Palm Bay Road has been, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, that whole intersection was revamped and expanded, and now that walking path across Palm Bay Road going to Palm Bay High, although there is a crosswalk, although there is a signal, it is a 10-lane walk across there with just an amazing amount of things going on all at the same time. And so I'm curious, was it deemed at one point hazardous prior to the construction, during the construction, or after the construction?
Mr. Ziegler, we never really deemed that area hazardous during the construction period. But what we decided to do was transport those students until the construction was complete. That was the plan. And now that the construction is complete, it's in front of the board for discontinuance of courtesy busing.
Okay, the next question is you're showing a elimination of one bus. However, and of course it's based on who contacts us. I understand one of the areas that a courtesy bus is a bus stop in front of the Vinings, which is a continuation of a route that's coming up south. Therefore, that bus is not being eliminated. Is it safe to assume that maybe there's another area where there's a bus specifically picking up students, maybe on the south side of Palm Bay Road, east of Babcock? Is that what's going to be eliminated? Because I know the Vining bus is not going to be eliminated.
Mr. Ziegler, the combination of about 3 buses doing the courtesy riders, when we do away with that, it will result in the elimination of 1 bus from 3.
Okay. Then the next question, because this was actually asked earlier about converting to fee-based, I would hope that in most of these scenarios, since the student is already riding a bus, that the fee-based option becomes available since there's space for them already on the bus. But in the event you eliminate a bus, you're now reducing seating. So that would apply to me in some of these scenarios. Some of the students are not going to have the opportunity to ride even fee-based.
That is a possibility, yes, sir.
Trying to decide if we need to evaluate that so that when we notify the families that they can be told you can or cannot take this option, and if they can, where the bus stop will be. That might eliminate a lot of pushback when they realize at least they do have an option, because you'll wind up fielding those questions anyhow.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ziegler. Okay, getting back to where we are on those items, we have voted to postpone 20. Are we prepared to vote on the others at this point in time?
No, ma'am. I
No?
have one
Okay.
comment.
Item 21? That's what I'm trying. Are we ready for 21? And wait a second, Amy, and I'll get you. Are you ready for 21?
Me, yeah.
Any other comments on 21? Okay, then let's entertain a motion for item F21.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, it was moved by Mrs. Nisi and seconded by Mr. Ziegler to approve item F21 as recommended by the superintendent. Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, let's vote. Okay, item F22.
To approve. Second.
Okay, it was moved by Mrs. Henderson, seconded by Mrs. Nisi to approve item F22 as recommended by the superintendent. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, let's vote.
Wait a minute, that was the other one. My question is, what would we be approving on F26? It's just the report.
Probably to accept the report, I guess. I don't know.
Report of all, yeah.
Yeah. Are we, is that it, Jackie? Okay. Motion carries 5-0. I lost track. Am I on 23 now? Okay. Entertain a motion for item F23.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, it was moved by Mrs. Henderson and seconded by Dr. Krupp to approve the item F23. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, let's vote. Item F23 carries 5-0. Item F24.
Move to approve.
Second.
It was moved by Mrs. Henderson and seconded by Mr. Ziegler to approve item F24. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, let's vote. The motion carries 5-0. Item F25.
Move to approve.
Second.
It was moved by Mrs. Henderson and seconded by Dr. Krupp to approve, thank you, item F25.
I have a comment.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ziegler.
I'm questioning the specific spot that we've been notified about where the students appear to be walking around a county transit bus stop, which puts them close to the road, and we've been stated makes the walk path below the state required width for the walk area. I tend to think that there's a point, a valid point to the application there, and I believe it's being caused by the county, not by the state, that's creating that problem. And I think the simple solution that would nullify that spot would be asking the county to move that bus stop area back maybe a couple of feet, and then then it should follow all the statutes and it's not a hazardous walk path.
Mr. Ziegler, I've already initiated actions with the county to have that done.
Great minds think alike. Thank you.
Sir, we will not accept people calling out from the audience. Thank you.
Then, bearing that in mind, I would assume that you'd agree that was a questionable spot if you've had that request made.
It's questionable, yes, sir. It's always, also there's an area behind the stand that, quote, offers 4 feet of walk space. Although it's a little lumpy, it's grass area, it still qualifies as walk space. So there is gray area there. But the answer to this is, and as I said to Mr. Crosby, just like we recommended to you, if this is eliminated, the first action we need to look at is getting a crossing guard for Jordan Blass and Wickham to monitor those students coming there. And we wouldn't do that before we knew your direction. Along with that same thing, if you vote tonight to eliminate this, then our next step is to pursue with the county to get that sidewalk cleared for these students.
That being said, and I appreciate your candor on that, then I would only approve this upon, to go into effect at the point in time that that's rectified. Because until then, obviously you feel there's an issue there, and we should continue busing until that's rectified. And it could be as simple as maybe putting a walk path around the backside of that bus stop, not necessarily moving the bus stop.
There may be a right-of-way issue, too, with the 7-Eleven.
Oh, I'm sure there's St. John's Water Management in there, too, because it looks like a swale.
Yeah. But, Mr. Ziegler, you make a good point. It could be, as you direct, that this doesn't take effect until this walkway is clear.
I would like to amend the motion to delay elimination of this route until that walk path is rectified.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, it was moved by Mr. Ziegler and seconded by Mrs. Nisi to amend the motion for F25 to approve only when... Is it contingent?
It's right, contingent upon removing that spot in the walk path.
Okay.
Right.
Contingent upon.
Saying in order for it to become effective, that has to be done. I'm good with that.
Okay. Dr. Krupp?
Mr. Connors, do we have a timeline? Say we ask the county for this, are we asking them to move heaven and earth, or was this going to take us forever and a day, or is it going to happen within a month or two?
I can't honestly answer that, Dr. Krupp. I just initiated today. It's the Public Works Department, Engineering Public Works with the county that has to oversight over this, that allow the permitting for it and have to make the movement to get this sign drawn back a little bit. I estimate that if they redid the support pole, moved it back 12 inches, it would allow for the adequate walk space. So it could be as simple as something like that.
I will be glad to contact the county commissioner in that area, and maybe we all can urge them to help us along with this.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion? Okay, then let's vote.
We need a vote on the amendment first.
We are voting on the amendment. Jackie's nimble fingers were at work while we were talking. Okay, the motion, I don't have results.
Is it contingent upon the walkway?
It says contingent. Has everybody voted? Okay, let me vote again. I already voted. Okay, it won't let me submit.
You've already voted.
Right, so, but it's not.
Okay, it says 5-0.
Oh, there it went. Okay. The motion carries 5-0. Okay, that brings us to item F26.
Point of order.
Mr. Ziegler?
Once a motion to amend is approved, now we have to vote on the entire motion, or the entire motion is not moved. That's.
All right, okay, my mistake. We have a motion on the floor then to approve the original recommendation, item F25. Any discussion on that? Okay, hearing no discussion, then let's vote.
So all we did on the last one was approve changing the wording?
Right, you have to approve the modification. Once that's approved, then you move the whole motion.
Right.
Right.
Right. Right. Is it up? No, it's not. Want to do a voice? It's not coming up. Let's do a voice. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Okay, the motion carries 5-0. Okay. F26, hazardous walking. It's been, the question has been raised, since this is just a report, what are we actually voting here? A procedure? We're voting on the procedure?
And I believe, Ms. Preston, procedure and the criteria, is that correct? Make sure that the criteria used are those that would be supported. Is that correct?
Okay, I got you. Okay,
Approve.
so it's a procedural recommendation that the evaluation team will continue to be utilized and as written in the information. So with that said, I will entertain a motion for item F26.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it was moved by Mr. Ziegler to approve item F26, and it was seconded by Mrs. Henderson. Any further discussion?
I just want to be on record as stating that I'm voting for the procedure, but I want to make sure that in no way does this mean I'm agreeing with the report that's out there right now. And I just want to make sure that my vote's reflected as just voting for the procedure, and that's what this is.
Okay, point noted. Is yours up? Okay. The motion carries 5-0. Okay. We still have items F29 and F30. I heard someone say they wanted to break. We're right in the middle of the consent. I would recommend that we finish the consent and then break. Is that okay, everyone? Okay. Yeah. F29, employee benefits. Mr. Ziegler?
Thank you. Just a minute.
Hmm?
Okay, I have a few questions about our pharmacy benefit management recommendation portion of this item. And my first question, which was answered actually, and the write-up was this a recent bid that was done? And the answer is no. It also was not a bid for a PBM. It was part of a larger bid process that the county did, and we are now taking advantage of that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Normally, I'd apologize for hitting you with some of this now, but being that we were such short notification, I can't apologize because I've been doing my research on this right up through to today and uncovered a few things that I found pretty fascinating, and it just amazes me around every corner. I learned something about insurance, and I'm sure I'm not even scratching the surface on insurance. Can you all explain to me what it means? It's great to have a Cigna person here because this will probably really help. Explain to me average script price bidding and why we didn't consider going out on a bid for this PBM as opposed to accepting this. Average script price bidding. I understand it's very common in the marketplace. It's been done for years. And it sounded, from what I've heard, it would be a very prudent thing to do, yet we didn't do that. I'm assuming you all know about it, and I'm assuming there's a reason it wasn't an option.
I think that's an excellent question. I'd like to just, if I may, Mr. Ziegler, do a quick preface, just so you can factor in a little more information as we answer your questions. And that is this, that although finite individual agenda items, such as this one, emphasize the financial side of a recommendation, one of the things that the insurance committee and the rest of us had in mind for this recommendation was more strategic, meaning that having a carve-out of any kind on our PBM services in and of itself can have some negative consequences, and you will understand this if anybody does, and that's on data management and data integration. The great difficulty we've had with a carve-out of any kind, and currently Walgreens is a carve-out, is we have no effective data integration to manage medical, behavioral, and pharmacy together to make long-term decisions on programs that the data support will save us the most money in operating this plant. I had to say that because that's never evident, and you will understand that.
I understand, and I absolutely agree.
Okay. Now, you want to talk about... Jan will talk for a minute to answer your question, okay?
Great. Well, since you've been talking about this subject, you probably know that pharmacy benefit management and pharmacy pricing is a very complex issue, and depending on who you ask, one model is better than the other model. And you know, absent a request for proposals process, we can't necessarily answer your specific questions about why didn't we look at that. We weren't looking at PBM as a part of the procurement that we talked about last time. So you can talk about transparency models, average script price modeling. You can talk about rebates, pass-through, point of sale. There are a lot of different models that the district could look at if it is so desired to do a request for a proposal. But that wasn't our charge. That's not what we were doing as we were contemplating the integration of PBM services. So I don't know if that answers your question specifically, but it wasn't something that we were going out to the market to procure. And if it's the desire of the board for that to happen, I think that's another issue, and we can certainly ask for different kinds of pricing models in an RFP type of process. But what we did do here is that we are piggybacking off of Brevard County government's PBM request for proposals. We did the analysis to compare it to your current PBM pricing and arrangement that you have with Walgreens Health Initiatives, and determined that there were substantial savings to be gained by making this integration with Cigna. So that was a lot of the background process that went into the recommendation that you have before you to pull that in to the Cigna medical holistic program, which you can't really do with a carve-out pharmacy program as well.
Understood, and I agree. And just so not to scare you, I am supporting this item with a caveat. Okay. With a caveat, though, and I want to get there, and I wanted the board to have some information to understand why I'm going where I'm going. And thank you for alluding that there are other models of PBM services to be explored, and that's the key thing that I wanted to make a point of. Because what I did learn, just for edification purposes, on average script pricing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong at any time, Jan, is that now per the data you gave us that I requested for, thank you, that was excellent, showing that our average script price is $96 per script, and we have almost 150,000 prescriptions a year. But on average script pricing, I understand that the range is somewhere in the 50s to the $70 per script. Now, at a simple savings of $20 per script on average pricing times 150,000 scripts, that's $3 million that could be negotiated savings if we can come to, if we can get our actuarial into that range. $3 million a year is what I wanted to convey to the board. The other beauty of average script price bidding is that it's guaranteed, and if for some reason the average price goes over, we don't pay for that overage. We're locked in. And if it goes under, we retain the savings. It minimizes our risk on the prescription side. And I know Cigna does this also, and that they do it with many people, and they're involved in that bidding process. So my concern is, oh, and by the way, some of the savings, to be aware of this, a lot of the savings that you're projecting in here, especially with the guarantee of 75% generic fill, I understand within the next 14 months we have 7 of the 20 most popular drugs out there going generic. We're going to see those savings no matter where we're sitting. It's just going to happen as the nature of the industry right now. There's going to be tremendous savings to us and tremendous savings to our employees when all of these go generic. So my concern is at this point in time is length of contract, because I think we need to be looking at a lot of these other options, because I think we have millions of dollars per year we're leaving on the table, and I don't want to get locked into anything more than a one-year contract for this arrangement.
Currently, what we're hoping to do is roll this relationship for PBM services, if approved, with Cigna into our other existing contract arrangements for our other self-funded products. All of our contracts have an escape clause. If we are unhappy, we have the provision on all of our contracts to, with proper notification, to exit those arrangements. We have done that before. I want to assure you of one thing. Our job is never done. We are constantly looking for ways to improve service, reduce cost, and I appreciate your interest in it. And we're hoping by building this stronger partnership with Cigna, and we've already found that they're willing to discuss any of these issues and continually improve them over time. Yeah.
And I just want to make one more point. And, you know, as you drive that generic dispensing rate up, now you're dividing your number of scripts by those higher cost scripts, the name brand scripts. So there's kind of a converse issue with that. So, you know, a lot of times you have zero balance claims where the copayment for your generic covers the entire cost of the prescription, so there's actually no cost to the plan. So it's counted as a dispensed prescription, but there was zero cost associated with that. So now when you're left with a lot of those high cost, both brand name and specialty medications, that creates that the numerator is big and the denominator gets, you know, is different. So it really is, it's an interesting dilemma with pharmacy, but I think this is a very a good opportunity for us to continue to manage the prescription drug program and to identify those ways to manage both prescription drugs along with the medical portion of the program.
And just to add to what Jan said, and you're absolutely right, some of the very most popular drugs are going generic. Lipitor is supposed to go generic in December, and we're watching that closely. We cannot assume, however, that a drug's going generic means scripts go generic, and we manage that closely to make sure that our providers are educated, that if we approve the preferred health centers, that we are watching that kind of behavior in terms of what they're prescribing. And the step therapy program will help us manage that too, plus the guarantees that Cigna is going to give us. But I wanted you to know we're always looking at ways, and we will continue, including the one you're bringing up tonight.
Thank you. And I just want to make sure that we are going to consider more savings, because I believe there's more savings on the PBM side. And maybe we want to ask our friends at Cigna if they have bid with any other government agencies on an ASP type bid, and whether we can piggyback, and then we could keep them, we could have integrated data, and everybody can be happy.
Yeah, at this time, I'm not aware of any that on my book of business, but we can certainly look into that for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ziegler. Entertain a motion on item F29.
So moved.
Second. It was moved by Mr. Ziegler and seconded by Mrs. Henderson to approve item F29 as recommended. Any further discussion?
I lost my screen.
Then let's vote. Let me know if we needed a voice.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Shut down on me. Yeah, it shut down on me, so just record a yes vote, please.
Okay, the motion carries 5-0. Item F30. Mr. Ziegler, you pulled that item? Yeah.
This is going to be quick. I just want on this item, I just want to reiterate that I don't think this is an end-all to the services that we can be providing to our employees, and I'm hoping that this board continues to support looking forward, looking towards other options and other models that we could add to enhance the health benefits for our employees. I move this item.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Krupp. It was moved by Mr. Ziegler and seconded by Dr. Krupp to approve item F30. Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, let's vote. The motion carries 5-0. Dr. Bengalay.
Thank you, Dr. Murray, and I want to take the opportunity to congratulate a couple great employees and the folks that came with them. Yeah, Don, I see you. And in trying to link my ongoing attempt to link the presentations, right about now you might need an analgesic. But
Are you prescribing?
I am not prescribing, but I want to first, in all sincerity, and again, in keeping with our tradition, those who are going to be introduced this evening know that they have opportunity to stand up, address those of us hardy souls who are left, and certainly introduce the great, wonderful supporters who are here with you. So with that in mind, we want to congratulate Tammy Brock for her reclassification transfer from the position of Guidance Services Professional at Edgewood Junior Senior High School to the position of Dean Assistant Principal 10-month at Merritt Island High School on annual contract effective September 28, 2011. Ms. Brock?
Thank you. I'd like to introduce my daughter, Malia, who is at West Shore, and she missed her volleyball games tonight to be here. My husband, Chip Brock, and my mother-in-law, Sue Brock. They've been wonderful support for me, and I can't wait to get started with the Mustang family.
Who's that guy that's sitting to your right over there? Is he? Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. Schifrin, of course, who hired me. So I'm excited to be a part of his team.
Thank you. I was worried he might have wandered in off the street and got confused. Want to also extend our congratulations to Molly Vega for her reclassification transfer from the position of Assistant Principal 12-month at Stone Middle School to the position of Principal at Hoover Middle School on annual contract effective October 11, 2011. Molly.
Thank you. I'm very excited and look forward to serving the Hoover family. Tonight I have with me my current boss and mentor, Principal of Stone Middle School, Mr. Johnson. I also have the current Principal of Hoover Middle School, Dr. Skinner, and my two daughters, Julia and Monica, and my father, David.
We congratulate both of you and thank all of you for the support that you give this evening and all the time. And that is what allows our great folks to be able to do what they do. And that is never lost on us. So thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Dr. Bingley. Now it's time for our BPS TV video break. We will be back after the break. Thank you. Welcome back. That brings us to the action agenda. Dr. Bingley.
Thank you, Dr. Murray. There is one action item on tonight's agenda. Item G45 is to authorize the superintendent to advertise for a public hearing and approve the Brevard Public Schools Student Progression Plan for 2011-2012.
What are the wishes of the board?
To approve. Second.
Okay, it was moved by Mrs. Henderson, seconded by Mrs. Nisi to accept the superintendent's recommendation on item G45 to authorize a public hearing for the approval of the student progression plan. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, let's vote. The motion carries 5-0. That brings us to the information agenda. The information agenda includes items for board review and will be brought back for action at a subsequent meeting. No action will be taken on these items tonight. Dr. Bingley.
Thank you, Dr. Murray. There are 2 agenda items under the information category.
Does any board member want to discuss any of these items? Okay, no. So we will move along then. That brings us to staff reports.
There are no staff reports on this evening's agenda.
And there is no additional public discussion. So are there any board member reports? I'm going to start down here with you, Dr. Krupp.
Thank you. I had the pleasure of attending the 45th birthday celebration at Apollo Elementary. We were graced with several dignitaries, and it was a good time had by all, even though a little sprinkle didn't dampen our spirits. We had to go indoors, so it was fine. Also, the teacher reception for North Brevard, sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce, had over 60 sponsors, and they gave away a lot of freebies, and a lot of teachers in the North area showed up. I didn't get a handle on how many teachers in total, but for the hour or hour and a half I stayed there along with Dr. Bobet, it was packed. So they're going to have to look for a bigger place. It was held at Titusville High School's old administration wing, and the place was full. I think even Dr. Bobay got a caricature done. He did. Okay. School Health Advisory Committee, I attended that as a new member, and also the Brevard Cultural Alliance. I'd like to make an announcement. They are gearing up for the Art of Sand and the Fall of Arts, October the 7th, Fall for the Arts in the O'Galley Arts District from 5 to 8:30. There's a reception and sneak peek for the Art of Sand on October the 13th at Space Coast Stadium at 5:30. And then the Art of Sand starts off on the 14th of October through the 23rd. So those are important dates for the Cultural Alliance, and that Art of Sand will bring in a lot of people from all over the districts and all over the state of Florida, and probably, if not, some people coming from out of state, because there are international artists that are working with that particular program. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Mrs. Henderson?
Judy and I went to Washington, D.C. last week for the Federal Relations Network. I'm the representative on that, and we were able to meet with legislative aides from congressmen on the appropriations committees and some of the education committees. We also were very excited about meeting the White House Domestic Policy Advisor, Mr. Steve Robinson, who is a former teacher. So it was an interesting trip. We had a great time. We basically talked about the reauthorization of ESEA and charter schools, how we all would like to be treated the same, and what the numbers would look like in Florida with 83% failing schools if things stayed the way they are. I thought overall that all the aides were very intent on listening to us. We didn't get a whole lot of information out of them, but I felt that they were really listening to some of our concerns. And I also, what the committee did was we offered our services if there were anything that they wanted to know about, from our perspective as they're doing things, that from a committee's perspective, we said, give us a call. So
Okay.
it was really
Very good.
time.
Thank you. Mrs. Nisi?
Just 2 items to report tonight. The first one is I've had an email conversation with Cindy Van Meter in regards to questioning what does the district do for high school students with financial literacy. That's been a big talking point on several of the, like the Dateline, 60 Minutes, that sort of thing. I've heard a lot on that, and personally, I've taken an interest in it because I'm leading a group through my church with Financial Peace University and Dave Ramsey, for those of you that are familiar with that, and I'm getting asked a lot of questions. What do we do with our high school students? So step one is I'm gathering that information. What are we, more than just teaching them how to balance a checkbook, do we talk about mortgages? Do we talk about credit cards? Where do we do that? How do we cover that? And then the second part of that is, are we doing enough? So I want to see what we're doing there, and then what I find out I'd like to bring back to the board for later discussion, because the community, at least that I'm talking to, is really wanting to know more about what we're doing to prepare students for once they get jobs, how do they handle the money as it comes in. So I'm excited about learning about that.
Good.
The second item, I debated about bringing up tonight or not, but I want to do a follow-up to my discussion with property values within Brevard County. In your email tonight is a letter, a request for public information from Jim Ford's office. He has requested the minutes of our last meeting, and he is requesting our process for choosing our value assessment board.
Citizen appointee.
Yeah, the appointees. And very concerned that just by expressing some concerns about property values, amazing what requests have come in already. So I have met now, Judy and I have talked, and I've now talked with Harold, and we're going to sit down and look at the financial information. Just a cursory review tonight, folks. Just to let you know, our current, and this is just some current information, out of 987 properties researched, the appraisal value was on average at a 73% level. By state law, they have to be at a 90% level. And on a document that Mr. Ford's office put out, he said he was at 94%. So we're trying to determine where the discrepancies are coming from and just why the picture is as it is. So just knowing that Judy and Harold, and I don't know, Harold, do you want to add anything to what we've talked about?
No, I want to look at the report first.
Okay. So just want to let you know that I was certainly surprised to see the request for public information come from his office already, and I have no doubt a request for tonight's meeting will probably follow. So I will keep you posted. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Ziegler.
Thank you, and I'm so proud to have been mentioned in that letter multiple times. I guess our property appraiser is not happy with my communication to the legislator and believes that a school board member needs approval from their fellow school board members to communicate with their legislators. I don't know where he thinks that, but he feels that I did not have approval. But I did give myself approval, I'll assure you that. I want to thank Mark Mullins for helping me with the POW MIA flag ceremony at Melbourne High School on POW MIA Day, which is the day when Brevard Public Schools raised those flags, the POW flag at every school in Brevard County. Principal Jim Wilcoxon was very accommodating. Assistant Principal Ed Everett worked very hard to, with all the logistics and the sound and seating and all of that. And the Mel High ROTC performed just absolutely flawlessly. They were rehearsing numerous times before the event. Matter of fact, their rehearsal was so good that County Commissioner Andy Hanson showed up and at first was offended that we started without him. But we hadn't started, they were rehearsing, and they just did a fantastic job in the whole ceremony. I was so proud of them. One of the students gave a speech, and thank you also again to Rolling Thunder for providing the district with all those flags. It was a great day and great ceremony. I also want to let everybody know that this year again, I have the honor of joining with Ms. Nisi and Commissioner Anderson in doing the Coats for Kids project, which was very successful last year, which by the way was I don't know if it could be too successful, but they thought they'd collect several hundred coats last year, and they collected over 1,700 coats. And it was really a challenge because part of the goal was cleaning these coats before they went back to the kids. Plaza Cleaners donated all of the cleaning last year, which was, I think, a lot. I know it was a lot more than they signed up for. This year, I'm going to be looking for contributions for businesses who might like, or individuals who might like to sponsor cleaning those coats, because I really don't want to put that burden back on Plaza Cleaners if we don't have to. Coats for Kids will begin collections on October 1st through November 30th, and distribution will begin in December. A lot of the schools were involved, and I understand a lot of coats were dropped off at schools that might not even have been prepared for the drop-off. So this year we would like to put a collection box in every school. We'll probably put one in every county commission office and any other area somebody thinks would be a good place to put a collection box. I would like to make sure it's okay with the board that we allow the couriers who visit that school to bring those coats, bagged up coats, back, because it's just not possible for anybody to run to all 86 schools and collect coats. That's just a logistical impossibility for the commissioner's office or even for those that are helping him. And then get those somehow to the commissioner's office. We're not asking for any special runs or anything like that, just when the couriers are already there. And he's right next to Harbor City, so the couriers pass by the commissioner's office on Sarner Road every day. Do you foresee any issues with transporting those coats back for cleaning?
I really don't know at this time. I'll have to ask them, and you know, I don't know what kind of bulk we're talking about, how big the volume would be, and just got to find out a little more before I say no problem or you know, there's a big problem. It could be anywhere in between.
If we can look into that promptly, because we would like to put the boxes out at all the schools and be able to pick them up. And we're also working on a letter going to principals that will better define the collection process or request process for getting the coats to the kids. That program will be kicking off again shortly.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank the South Patrick Resident Association for their generous donation of supplies to Sea Park Elementary School. I received some information on that. I also want to let you know that I met with Emilio Alonso Mendoza, who is the new CEO and president of Take Stock in Children in the state of Florida, and he is an extraordinary gentleman, we are very proud to be so active in that program and have one of the larger programs in the state. He did recognize Brevard County's program in his letter that went out to throughout the state. So that was nice of him to do that. The students that attended that from Vieira High School were very impressive. And it's interesting to note that the Take Stock in Children programs throughout the state, through data analysis, were deemed the most successful programs of helping students move forward in a positive fashion and enter college, more successful than any other program out there. So when the state officials wanted that information, it was certainly came through in a positive light for Take Stock in Children programs. So we hope that they will continue their support of those programs. The Philip Perry chapter, the DAR, which is the Cocoa Rockledge area and serves Port St. John and Merritt Island as well, wants me to announce that all the DAR chapters, or most of them up and down the county, are initiating the annual American History Essay Contest, which I have received emails from teachers about that and when that is coming, and you should be receiving those packets from DAR representatives, dropping those packets off to your schools within the next week or two. Also want to bring to the board's attention, I know you probably got the emails on the Bright Future increases and the requirements, especially for the community service, and just want to make sure that teachers, sponsors, and guidance counselors are really on their toes for this. I've spoken to several freshmen who are now under the 100-hour requirement, and I've told them, I said, you know, it appears to me that our legislators increase in increments of 25, so you can anticipate by the time you're a senior, you'll probably be expected to do 125 hours. So instead of, you know, starting on the low end of that, you probably need to set your sights a little high, because as they run out of money, they will increase the requirements for that. So just let the students know that don't let their guard down. Again, I want to speak to the Coats for Kids and the food drive that the county is having, and make sure that people are aware that they can drop donations of food off to their local schools, that there are collection boxes at all sites. And I had another odd request from one of our foundation members that in terms of the food drives, that there is an epidemic also in our county of at the humane societies and whatnot, and it's not just our county, it's all over the state of Florida and throughout the United States, where people who are losing their homes in foreclosures and can no longer afford to feed their families are actually giving up their pets and abandoning their pets and so forth. So when you involve donating on the food drive, you might have Fido at your house send a dog a bag of dog food as well. So or cat food, yes, or pet food in general. So that's pretty much all I have tonight as Dr. Bingley.
I have no report. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. And hearing no other comments or seeing any hands waving in the air, this meeting is adjourned.